Having a baby changed my life completely. I'm the youngest in my family, so I was always used to being taken care of. But when I had my son, I knew everything would be different. Still, I wasn't expecting how difficult motherhood would start out. Hi, I'm Gwen, and at 26 I had my first child. My son, Heath, meant everything to me and my husband, Hugh. From the moment I heard Heath cry in the hospital, I knew I wanted to dedicate my life to him. That's what parents do, right? But things don't always go as planned. This is where Hugh's mom, Trish, comes in. She had recently gotten divorced and came to stay with us. She wasn't in a great mental state and had nowhere else to go. This was her second divorce, first with Hugh's dad, and now her ex-husband, whom she married soon after Hugh was born. When I married Hugh, I found out Trish had just had another child, which was surprising at her age. But her marriage fell apart again, and she lost custody of the child because she wasn't in a good mental state. When we brought Heath home from the hospital, Trish was thrilled. She spent hours just staring at him in awe. While I was glad she was around, I also felt she missed the daughter she wouldn't see grow up. Trish was so excited when I told her we named the baby Heath. She loved the name and asked to hold him. I trusted her because she had handled more babies than I had. Hugh and I smiled as she played with Heath, but then he started crying. I thought he was hungry, so I asked for him back. Trish insisted he wasn't hungry and just wanted attention. She kept playing with him even though he was crying louder. I looked at Hugh for help, and he gently suggested Trish let me take care of Heath. But Trish didn't listen and shook the baby lightly, which made me nervous. I finally managed to take Heath from her, even though she tried to hold on. This was just the beginning of her strange behavior. Trish would play with Heath even when he was sleeping, waking him up just when I had finally calmed him down. She never took responsibility for his crying, just laying him in the cradle and walking away as if he'd stop on his own. She insisted that babies only want attention and that feeding them should come later. I tried to explain that Heath was just a few weeks old and needed regular feeding and sleep, but she dismissed me, saying new mothers think they know everything. Trish continued to ignore Heath's needs, treating him like a toy to play with when it suited her. I decided to talk to Hugh about it, but he wasn't happy with how I was talking about his mom. He hadn't seen much of her behavior since he was usually at work. While I was on unpaid maternity leave, I really wished I could have had a paid one, but my employers weren't very kind. I had already used up my 12 weeks of paid leave, and now I was going over that time. Hugh had to work overtime because of this and didn't get much time at home. Look, can you please try to get along with my mom? She's been through a lot, and that's probably why she wants to bond with Heath, Hugh said. I do get along with your mom as long as she's not acting weird around our baby. Do you know last night I woke up to him crying, and she was just standing over his cradle, staring at him. It was terrifying, I replied. She said she wanted to play with him, but didn't because she knew you wouldn't be okay with it. She was just standing there looking. It was scary, I added. I know she can be a bit strange, but that doesn't mean she'll hurt him. Just be nice and persuasive and she'll soften up. She's easygoing like that, soft-hearted like you. Hugh tried to reassure me. I really don't know about this, I said, worried. Heath was too young for a nanny, and I couldn't take him to work when I went back. I was a barista at a local cafe and I wasn't sure how long I could stay off work. With only Hugh working, we were just making ends meet, and I was concerned about the future. At first, I liked the idea of letting Trish take care of Heath while I was away, but now I realized that might not be a good idea. The other day, I was trying to get Heath to sleep when I heard loud noises from my room. I peeked in and saw Trish stomping around, looking like she was deep in thought. When she noticed me, I quickly looked away, but she swung the door open. Do you think I should talk to my lawyer again? She asked abruptly. Talk to your lawyer? About what? I asked, confused. About my baby. Like the one you have. I think I can get her back if I try really hard. Maybe I could file a lawsuit against Tony and prove he's not a reliable person for her to grow up with, she said. Tony was her ex who had custody of their child. I felt sorry for Trish. She was clearly in a bad mental state, but I had to warn her about the consequences of her actions. Trish, that's a long shot. Even if you prove Tony can't raise the child, you won't get her back. They'll say both parents are unfit, and she'll go through the foster care system until she turns 18, I explained. But then I can adopt her as soon as she's put up for adoption. You can keep Heath, and I'll get my baby. Everyone will be happy, Trish said. Trish, no offense, but you're starting to sound like you're losing your mind. You need to relax and let go of this. You need help, I said gently. Are you calling me crazy? Me, the mother of your husband? Do you know what I've done to raise him, the sacrifices I've made? And now you want to take this baby away from me? He's my baby too, she shouted. Since when are we talking about Keith? If you want your child back, the only way is to be real and legal. Maybe you should get some help and then prove you can have joint custody, I said. Don't lecture me. You're just a barista who caught my son's eye. You're no one, and you won't make a good mom. Not like me anyway, Trish snapped. What's with you? Where are you going with all this? We let you stay in our home because you had nowhere else to go, and this is how you treat me. I'm sorry life hasn't been great for you, but lashing out at me won't help, I said, trying to stay calm. Shut up, I'm leaving, she screamed, coming dangerously close to me before storming out. I was scared that Trish might hurt me or Heath, but thankfully she didn't. Losing custody of her child had clearly messed with her mind, and things were getting worse. Hugh didn't even listen to me. When I told him what happened, he got mad at me for letting Trish go out on her own when she wasn't thinking straight. He didn't believe me when I told him she was fixated on the whole baby thing. Later, Trish came back home and said she'd been sitting on a park bench all day, even though it had only been a few hours since she left. She quickly apologized to me and then went to take a nap in my room. Later she asked if she could help put Heath to sleep, but I was cautious this time. I wasn't about to let her handle the baby without supervision. Things didn't get easier after that. There came a point where I knew I'd need to ask Trish to leave for good. Things really took a turn one day when we were taking care of a sleeping Heath. How much does it cost to take care of a baby these days? Trish asked. Oh well, the diapers, other supplies, and baby-proofing the house add up. Maybe around $100 a month if you're lucky, and even more when the baby starts crawling or walking, I replied, just wondering. If you have something on your mind you can tell me, I added. Oh, nothing. It didn't used to be so expensive back when I had Hugh, but I'd still have the baby, no hesitation. They're complete angels until they start crying. But yes, I get it. I'd give anything for little Heath. So would I, Gwen. So would I. I'd be willing to give up anything for our baby, Trish said. Our baby? The way she said it felt oddly uncomfortable, but I didn't pay much attention to it. Days passed quickly. Trish started going out regularly every evening around 5 o'clock, all dressed up with her purse. There was no way she had started seeing someone new at her age, so I figured she was just going for walks, trying to feel better. Honestly, we were supportive of her trying to improve. She also began acting more normal with Heath. She didn't act weirdly, would hand me the baby whenever he cried, and even helped make his food and buy diapers occasionally. I was relieved that she seemed to be feeling better and more like herself. I even considered leaving Heath with her when I went back to work soon. But then one day I overheard her while she was playing with him in the living room. I'd been exhausted from taking care of him all day and was trying to drift off to sleep. A while later, I heard Heath crying, which woke me up. As soon as I got up, he became quiet. Then I heard Trish say, "That's a good boy, that's a good baby. You're mine, okay? You're my baby, and Mom is going to take real good care of you. We're going to fly away to a nice place where you'll have lots of toys to play with. Don't you want that?" I wondered how much of what she said was serious and how much was just play. She had definitely managed to calm Heath down. When I got to my senses, I realized his cradle had been moved from my room. The cradle wasn't very heavy, but it was odd that she moved it without waking me up. When I walked into the living room, my heart skipped a beat. The cradle had been modified, and she'd hung large Christmas balls on top to entertain the baby. It looked pretty, but the problem was the balls were made of glass and could have fallen on his face at any moment. I quickly picked Heath up. "What are you doing?" "He's enjoying it," Trish said. "Trish, where did you get these Christmas balls from?" "I found them in your storeroom." "I thought he'd enjoy them," she replied. "Trish, those are really heavy. They may not seem dangerous to us, but for the baby they are. How did you tie them up there? They could fall on him any moment." "Hey, what's with all the accusing?" I got the baby to be quiet and you're still not happy with me, Trish said, sounding defensive. I appreciate that you got him to be quiet, I really do. I'm so happy you're getting along with him, but these balls are dangerous. The old plastic toy on the cradle wouldn't hurt him if it ever fell. How did you even get it down? I thought it was attached. Oh, I ripped it off. Didn't take much. I think this looks so much prettier. I don't see the problem. I understand, but please, let's take it off, okay? It could hurt him. Trish made a face but pulled the Christmas balls down. As soon as she touched them, 2 of them fell straight into the cradle and left dents in the bedding. That could have been where my child was lying. I saw that her intentions were good, but the way she went about things wasn't okay. She left the living room and ran into my room to sleep. Afterward, she began distancing herself from me. Every morning, she'd go out and not come back for hours. Whenever I asked where she was going, she'd just say, "The post office." Trish kept saying she was going to the post office, but it was too far for her to be gone all day. She also started whispering strange things to Heath, and she'd smile at me in a weird way. I was getting uncomfortable, so I talked to Hugh again. "She's trying to get better. Why aren't you being supportive?" Hugh said. "But she still acts strangely around Heath. She keeps telling him he's her baby and says her own name over and over so he'll say it first. You know about the Christmas balls incident and I'm really concerned. You're overthinking this. She's taking care of our baby. Yes, the Christmas balls were a mistake, but you handled it, and she won't do it again. And you need to help her get to the post office if that's where she's going." "Hugh, she's obviously not going to the post office every day. Why would she?" "Because she used to work there and has friends there. Maybe she got a part-time job." "Then why wouldn't she tell us about it?" "I don't know, okay? Just relax and stop keeping an eye on my mom. She's innocent, there's no need to accuse her." That was it, I lost it. Hugh refused to believe me no matter what I said. With my return to work approaching, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I bought a baby monitor and secretly installed it in the wall so no one would notice it. When I started working again, Trish stayed home most days. Everything seemed normal. She'd take Heath to play and then put him back to sleep. Since I was only working part-time, I was always home before it got too late. But one day, I heard something on the baby monitor that made my heart sink. "Oh, we're going to fly away, Heath, you and me. Mama has been working so hard at school, teaching little kids like you'll be someday. Oh, Mama has so many plans once she runs away with you," Trish said. I heard Heath giggle as she picked him up and spun around the room. "My baby, oh little baby, do you like spinning? Do you like it? Of course you do. We're going to go far away from your little cradle. I'll get you a new one with big shiny balls on it, and you'll have a pretty mom, unlike your mom, and we'll make Daddy run away too. Yes, we will." What was going on? I was horrified. She continued spinning around the room with Heath, but when she finally sat down, Heath started crying. She placed him on the edge of the bed and held her head like she was dizzy. I panicked, thinking Heath might fall, but she picked him up just in time and put him back in his cradle. "You keep crying, and I'm not giving you any more attention. In my house, you'll learn discipline from the get-go. Children these days, I swear to God," she said and slammed the door. I was deeply concerned. I recorded the footage and considered sending it to Hugh, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't overreacting. That day, I went home early, worried about my child. Trish opened the door, looking worn out and tired. She yawned and went straight to sleep without saying a word. I rushed to my room, quickly fed Heath, and calmed him down. Once he was asleep, I locked the room from the inside and started searching. Trish always carried a big red purse whenever she went out, and I needed to find it. After searching my room for almost an hour, I found nothing. Then I noticed it hanging from the coat rack. I grabbed it as quietly as possible, and when I looked inside, I was shocked. She had a teacher's ID card for a school and a plane ticket scheduled for the day after tomorrow. She had been planning to run away with my child. I kept the ticket and ID card to myself and sent the video to Hugh, asking him to come home as soon as possible. "This can't be real. Oh, for God's sake, you still think I'm overreacting?" I asked when Hugh saw the footage and held the ticket and ID card in his hand. Hugh was speechless. He realized Trish had been working for months to arrange all this. She clearly needed help. We decided to call Hugh's dad, Jonah. Jonah quickly picked up the call. When Hugh told him what was happening, Jonah was saddened but agreed that Trish needed to be removed from the house. He suggested we consider a retirement home for her. Do you think she should go to a retirement home? Hugh asked. That's what I'd do. But I think she needs psychiatric care first, Jonah replied. So you want her out of the house for good? Hugh confirmed. Yes, please, I said. Okay, I'll come over to talk to her in person. Let's get started, Jonah agreed. Jonah had been around when Heath was born, and he and Trish would often argue over small things, but he came over anyway. Hugh and Jonah talked to Trish, and there was a lot of crying and yelling. He's my baby, Trish screamed. No, he's my son. Trish, you need to get out of here before we have to forcefully remove you, Hugh said. Oh, I'd like to see you try, Trish shot back. By then, I'd lost my patience. Trish had done so much to upset me that I wanted her out of our lives for good. You will never set foot in this house again. Just go away and keep your hands off my son. Enough. Both of you. Jonah intervened. Mom, please don't make this complicated. Come with us. The fighting continued for a while, but I finally decided to let her go into a retirement home for good. The people at the nursing home said they'd provide her with some psychological help as well. I didn't care anymore. I tore up the plane ticket in front of her and called the school where she worked to ensure she wouldn't be allowed near any kids again. Maybe I went too far in my anger, but it was all necessary.
I always thought family meant having your back. That delusion shattered the moment I watched my mother slide the contract across the mahogany conference table, her manicured nails tapping impatiently against the wood. My name is Felicity, and I was about to lose everything I'd built. It's just a formality, dear, Mom said, her voice dripping with that artificial sweetness she reserved for manipulating people. The family will handle everything, marketing, distribution, all of it. You just keep creating your little potions. I stared at the stack of papers, my successful beauty formula's future laid out in cold legal terms. The conference room's floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of downtown, but all I could see was my reflection. Tired eyes, messy bun, and the uncertainty written all over my face. I don't understand why we need this, I said, gripping my pen tightly. The line is already successful. We sold out 3 times last month. Dad cleared his throat, straightening his designer tie. Which is precisely why we need to protect the family's interests. You're not exactly business savvy, Felicity. Remember that failed boutique of yours? I was 19, Dad. Exactly our point, Peyton chimed in, my younger sister's smile not quite reaching her eyes. Let us handle the business side. You're good at creating products, but this is bigger than you now. The boutique comment stung. One failure from my teenage years, and they'd never let me forget it. Never mind that my natural skincare line had just been featured in Vogue, or that celebrities were raving about my vitamin C serum on Instagram. What exactly am I signing? I asked, flipping through the pages. Just transferring the rights to the family corporation, Mom said dismissively. We'll handle everything. You'll still get your share. Josue, my boyfriend at the time, squeezed my hand under the table. It sounds reasonable, babe. Your family knows what they're doing. I should have noticed how he'd been spending more time with my family lately, how Peyton's eyes lingered on him a second too long. But I was blind then, desperate for approval, for belonging. And if I don't sign? Dad's facade cracked slightly. Then you're on your own. No more family support, no more connections, no more doors opened for you. Is that what you want? The threat hung in the air like poison gas. I thought about all the times they'd helped me. The startup money, the introductions to retailers, the PR connections. But I also thought about the midnight hours perfecting my formula, the countless rejections before success, the tears and determination that were mine alone. You have 10 minutes, Mom announced, checking her Rolex. The lawyers have other appointments. Peyton leaned forward, her designer blazer immaculate. Come on, Fel, don't be difficult. This is what's best for everyone. I looked at each face around the table. Mom's impatience, Dad's stern authority, Peyton's barely concealed triumph, Josue's encouraging nod. My family, my support system, my supposed safety net. Where do I sign? I heard myself ask, my voice small and foreign to my own ears. The pen felt heavy as lead. With each signature, I felt pieces of myself falling away. 13 pages later, it was done. My creation, my success, my future, all signed away to the family corporation. Excellent, Mom beamed, gathering the papers efficiently. Legal will file these today. Dinner at the house on Sunday? I nodded numbly, watching them file out. Mom already on her phone, Dad discussing profit projections with Peyton, Josue lingering awkwardly. Want to grab lunch? He asked. I need to be alone, I managed, still staring at the empty space where the contract had been. After they left, I sat there for a long time, watching the sun set over the city. My phone buzzed with a text from Peyton. Thanks for not making this difficult. You did the right thing. The right thing. I laughed, a hollow sound in the empty conference room. I'd just handed over my life's work to people who'd never believed in me, who'd dismissed my dreams as frivolous until they proved profitable. As I gathered my things to leave, I caught my reflection again. Something had changed in my eyes, a hardness, a resolve I'd never seen before. I might have signed away my company, but they hadn't taken my knowledge, my skill, or my determination. They thought they'd won. They thought they'd put me in my place. The family dreamer finally brought to heel. But as I walked out of that conference room, one thought crystallized in my mind. This wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning. 3 months after signing away my company, I was living in a studio apartment above a Korean restaurant, surviving on waitressing tips and the lingering scent of bulgogi that permeated everything I owned. My family's fair share had turned out to be barely enough to cover 2 months' rent. The bell above the cafe door chimed as I wiped down tables during my morning shift. I looked up to see a familiar face I hadn't encountered in years. Felicity? The woman's voice was warm, professional. I thought that was you. Professor Gibson? I straightened up, suddenly conscious of my stained apron and messy ponytail. I mean, Emerson? She smiled, setting her designer bag on a nearby chair. I've been trying to track you down. You're not easy to find when you want to disappear. That was kind of the point, I said, continuing to wipe tables. I'm sure you've seen the news about my family's innovative new beauty line. I have. She pulled out a chair. And I've also seen the reviews claiming the products aren't quite as effective as they used to be. I stopped wiping. Of course they weren't. My family had the formula, but not the knowledge behind it. The precise temperatures, the exact timing, the little tricks that made everything work perfectly. Your shift ends soon? Emerson asked, checking her watch. In 15 minutes. Good. Let's talk properly then. I'll wait. Those 15 minutes felt like hours. When I finally hung up my apron, Emerson was still there, working on her laptop. We moved to a quiet corner table. You look terrible, she said bluntly. I laughed for the first time in weeks. Thanks. That's exactly what every former student wants to hear from their mentor. You're living above Mama Kim's, working minimum wage while your family profits from your creation. She leaned forward. What are you going to do about it? Do? There's nothing to do. They have ironclad contracts. For that formula. Emerson's eyes sparkled. But not for your next one. I shook my head. I can't. I have no money, no resources. Stop. She held up her hand. Do you know why I tracked you down? Because talent like yours doesn't just disappear. Because I've spent 20 years in this industry, and I know potential when I see it. Emerson, I appreciate this, but I'm starting a new beauty incubator program. She interrupted. Small batch, highly exclusive, focusing on natural ingredients. I need someone who understands formulation from the ground up. Someone innovative. She paused. Someone with something to prove. My heart started racing. My family would never... Your family doesn't need to know. She pulled out a business card. New name, new brand, new everything. They took your past, Felicity. They can't take your future unless you let them. I don't know. but my fingers were already reaching for the card. You do know. I saw your face just now when I mentioned the declining product quality. You're angry. Use that. The cafe door chimed again. I froze as Peyton walked in, designer sunglasses perched on her head. She didn't notice me at first, focused on her phone. Felicity? She stopped short. Are you working here? I stood up quickly. I have to go. Wait, Peyton called out. Mom's been trying to reach you. We need to discuss some formula adjustments. No. The word came out sharp, surprising even me. You have what you wanted. Figure it out yourselves. I grabbed my bag and headed for the door, hearing Emerson's chair scrape back as she followed. Outside, the summer air hit me like a wall. Well, Emerson said, catching up. That was interesting. I'm sorry, don't apologize. That fire I just saw? That's exactly what we need. She handed me another card. My home address. Come by tonight at 8. Let's start planning your comeback. As she walked away, I looked down at the cards in my hand. Behind me, I could hear Peyton's voice ordering her usual complicated coffee. My sister, who'd always competed with me, who'd helped orchestrate my downfall, who probably thought I'd given up. I pulled out my phone and texted my manager that I quit. Then I walked to the bus stop, my mind already racing with possibilities. I had nothing left to lose, which meant I had everything to gain. For the first time since that day in the conference room, I felt something other than despair. It wasn't quite hope. Not yet. But it was close. It was determination. Tonight, I would start over. And this time, I wouldn't make the same mistakes. Emerson's home lab smelled like lavender and possibility. Glass beakers lined the shelves, and a state-of-the-art mixing station dominated the center of the room. It had been 2 weeks since our cafe encounter, and I was already feeling more like myself. Try this, I said, handing her a small vial of pale golden liquid. I've added white tea extract and increased the niacinamide concentration. She applied a drop to her wrist, rubbing it in methodically. Texture's perfect. Absorption rate. She checked her watch. Impressive. But we need something more. Something revolutionary. The door chimed and a young woman with wild curly hair bounded in, arms full of shopping bags. Sorry I'm late, but wait until you see what I found at the farmer's market. Felicity, meet Andrea, Emerson said. She's our botanical expert and trend forecaster. Andrea dumped her bags on the counter, pulling out various plants and herbs. These are indigenous to South America, completely untapped in the beauty market, and the sustainability story is incredible. I picked up a strange-looking root. What is this? That, Andrea grinned, might be our secret weapon. It's been used by local healers for centuries. The antioxidant properties are off the charts. For the next few hours, we experimented with extractions and combinations. Andrea's energy was infectious, her creativity pushing my formulations in new directions. It felt different from working alone, better somehow. Holy shit, Andrea exclaimed, checking her phone. Have you seen this? She held up her screen, showing a business magazine article. My stomach dropped as I read the headline. Owen's Beauty Line announces international expansion, family enterprise valued at $50 million. There was a photo of my family, Mom, Dad, and Peyton, cutting a ribbon at their new headquarters. My formula, my dream, their success. They're struggling with production consistency, Emerson said quietly. The market's noticing. Good. I turned back to our samples. Let them struggle. Andrea looked between us, understanding dawning on her face. Wait, Owen's Beauty. That was you? I nodded, not meeting her eyes. To my surprise, she burst out laughing. Oh, this is perfect. You know what's better than a good product? A good product with a story. And girl, you've got a story. We're not using my family drama as a marketing strategy, I said firmly. Not directly. Emerson interjected, looking thoughtful. But Andrea's right. The market loves a phoenix rising narrative. Speaking of rising, Andrea said, holding up one of our test tubes. This formulation is incredible. The way it brightens and firms, we could call it Phoenix Rising. I couldn't help but smile. That's a bit on the nose, don't you think? Sometimes on the nose works. Emerson was already typing on her tablet. We'll need to move fast. I have investors ready, but timing is everything. How fast? I asked. 3 months to launch, small batch, exclusive distribution, heavy social media presence. She looked up. Can you handle that? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from Josue. Can we talk? I miss you. Andrea peeked at my screen. Ex-boyfriend? Ex everything. I deleted the message without responding. And yes, I can handle it. Let's do this. We worked late into the night, refining formulas and brainstorming ideas. Andrea's botanical knowledge combined with my formulation experience created something entirely new. Something better than anything I'd made before. Around midnight, Emerson ordered pizza, and we sat on her lab floor, surrounded by samples and empty coffee cups. You know they'll try to stop you, Emerson said, wiping her hands on a napkin. Let them try. I held up our latest sample to the light. They have my old formula. This is something else entirely. We should document everything, Andrea suggested. Every step, every decision, every ingredient source. Make it bulletproof. Already on it. Emerson pulled out a thick folder. I've had lawyers working on this since day one. They won't be able to touch us. Looking at these two women, one who'd believed in me enough to track me down, one who'd jumped into this project with complete enthusiasm, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Belonging. Tomorrow we start production trials, Emerson announced. Andrea, can you source larger quantities of those botanicals? Already made the calls. And Felicity. She paused. Are you ready for this to get real? I thought about my family's smiling faces in that magazine article, about the contracts I'd signed, about all the nights I'd cried myself to sleep above that Korean restaurant. I'm not just ready, I said, standing up and gathering our successful samples. I'm going to make them wish they'd never underestimated me. Andrea raised her pizza slice in a toast. To Phoenix Rising. We laughed and clinked our coffee cups together. But beneath the lighthearted moment, I felt steel in my spine. This wasn't just about creating a new product anymore. This was about justice. The headline on my tablet made me choke on my morning coffee. Beauty industry's rising star, Peyton Owens, named 30 under 30. The accompanying photo showed my sister in our old lab, pretending to mix ingredients she'd never understood. Did you see this garbage? Andrea burst into the lab, waving her phone. She's taking credit for the formulation process. Of course she is. I set down my tablet. Peyton always wanted the spotlight. Now she has it. Not for long, Emerson said, entering with a stack of papers. Our first production run is ready. 10,000 units of Phoenix Rising serum, ready for testing. The past 2 months had been a blur of 18-hour days, endless formulation tweaks, and more caffeine than any human should consume. But we'd done it. Our serum was perfect, better than anything I'd created before. The influencer packages are ready to go out, Andrea said, pulling up a spreadsheet. I've got 20 top-tier beauty bloggers lined up, all with proven track records of honest reviews. And look at this. Emerson handed me a glossy magazine. Page 32. I flipped to it and froze. There was a small article about upcoming beauty launches, with Phoenix Rising featured prominently. New luxury skincare line promises revolutionary results. Formulated by anonymous industry veteran. Anonymous? I looked up. For now. Emerson smiled. Let the product speak for itself first. The reveal will come later. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Darling, we need to discuss the original formula. Production issues. Call me? Delete it, Andrea advised, reading over my shoulder. They made their bed. Before I could respond, the lab door opened again. A delivery man wheeled in boxes of our finished product. The sleek black packaging with gold accents looked even better than I'd imagined. It's really happening, I whispered, picking up a bottle. Time for quality control, Emerson announced. Everyone grab a sample. We each took a bottle, going through our testing protocol. The serum was perfect, silky smooth, quick absorbing, with an immediate brightening effect. Everything we'd worked for. Everything we'd promised. Social media campaign launches tomorrow, Andrea said, snapping photos. The mystery around the founder is already creating buzz. People love a good secret. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Peyton. Mom's trying to reach you. Don't be childish, the family needs you. I showed the message to Emerson. They're panicking, she observed. The production issues must be worse than we thought. Good. I started packing influencer boxes. Let them panic. Andrea pulled up a video on her laptop. Look at this review of their latest batch. The comments are brutal. The video showed a popular beauty reviewer comparing their old product, my original formula, with their newest release. The difference was obvious. The new version was separating, pilling on the skin, completely ineffective. They're missing steps, I realized, watching the demonstration. Critical temperature controls, ingredient timing, things I never wrote down. Things they'll never figure out, Emerson added. Not without you. Another delivery arrived. This time, press packages from major beauty editors. Each contained our serum, along with a mysterious black card that read, "Sometimes the greatest beauty lies in rising from the ashes." The first reviews should hit next week, Andrea said, checking her calendar. Just in time for the holiday shopping season. And just in time for this. Emerson handed me an invitation. The annual Beauty Innovation Awards were next month, and Owens Beauty was nominated for Best New Brand. Perfect timing. I smiled, an idea forming. That's when we'll reveal everything. Are you sure? Emerson asked. It'll be very public. That's the point. I looked at our serum, then at the invitation. They took everything from me in public. Let them face the consequences in public, too. Andrea clapped her hands. Oh, this is going to be good. We should start planning your outfit now. Focus, Emerson chided, but she was smiling too. We need to make sure every single unit is perfect. No mistakes, no weaknesses. They'll try to discredit us once they realize what's happening. My phone buzzed one more time. A message from Dad. Whatever you're planning, stop now. Don't damage the family name. I showed it to the others. They know something's coming, Andrea said. They just don't know what. Let them wonder, I replied, finally blocking their numbers. We have work to do. We spent the rest of the day checking and double-checking every detail. As the sun set, casting long shadows through the lab windows, I felt a calm certainty settle over me. In just a few weeks, everything would change. My family thought they'd written the end of my story. They were about to discover it was only the beginning of their nightmare. The first batch of Phoenix Rising sold out in 3 hours. I was in the lab monitoring our second production run when the door chimed. I looked up to see Josue standing there as perfectly styled as ever. Hey, stranger, he said softly. You're looking good. I kept my hands steady on the mixing equipment. How did you find me? I have my ways. He moved closer, that familiar cologne bringing back unwanted memories. I saw the Beauty Innovation Awards nomination list. Figured you might be behind Phoenix Rising. What do you want, Josue? To apologize. He leaned against the lab bench. I should have stood up for you that day. I was a coward. You were worse than a coward. I carefully measured out ingredients. You knew what they were planning. I did. At least he had the decency to look ashamed. Your sister, she can be very persuasive. The measuring spoon clattered against the beaker. Are you sleeping with her? His silence was answer enough. Get out. Felicity, please, I came to warn you. He grabbed my arm. Your family knows you're behind Phoenix Rising. They're planning something. I yanked my arm away. Let them plan. I'm not that naive girl anymore. They're claiming patent infringement. He ran a hand through his hair. They're building a case that your new formula is too similar to the old one. The lab door opened again, and Andrea walked in, arms full of fresh botanicals. She stopped short at the sight of Josue. "Everything okay here?" she asked, eyes narrowing. "Just fine," I said. Josue was just leaving. "Wait." He pulled out his phone. "I have proof, emails, meeting notes. I can help you." Andrea set down her supplies. "Help her? Like you helped her family steal her company?" "It's not that simple," he protested. "Actually, it is." I turned back to my work. "You chose your side. Now live with it." "They're going to destroy you, Felicity." His voice hardened. "Unless you have someone on the inside." Andrea stepped between us. "She has everything she needs. The door's that way." He hesitated, then placed a USB drive on the counter. "My personal backup of everything. Use it or don't." He walked to the door, then turned. "For what it's worth, I really am sorry." After he left, Andrea picked up the drive. "Want me to throw this away?" I stared at it for a long moment. "No. Give it to Emerson's lawyers. If there's anything useful." "Smart girl." Emerson appeared from her office. "I heard everything. He's right about one thing. They are planning something." "Let me guess," I said, checking the temperature gauge. "Cease and desist letters arriving in 3, 2. The lab door opened again, this time revealing a courier with a thick envelope. We all burst out laughing. "Right on cue," Andrea said, signing for the package. Emerson took the envelope and scanned its contents. "Standard legal threats, nothing we haven't prepared for." She pulled out her phone. "I'll have our lawyers respond." "They're scared," Andrea observed, sorting through her botanicals. "Our reviews are incredible and their sales are dropping." My phone pinged with a notification. Another beauty influencer had posted their review of Phoenix Rising. The comments were flooding in, all asking the same question: who was behind this miracle product? 2 weeks until the award ceremony, Emerson reminded me. "Are you ready for what comes next?" I thought about Josue's warning, about my family's desperate attempts to maintain control. The USB drive sat on the counter, a reminder of all the betrayals that had led to this moment. "More than ready." I picked up the drive. "And now we might have exactly what we need to finish this." "I'll have our tech team analyze it," Emerson said, taking the drive. "If there's anything incriminating, there will be," I said confidently. My family never thought Josue would turn on them. They wouldn't have been careful. Andrea started laying out ingredients for our next batch. "Speaking of careful, we need to increase production. The waitlist is getting crazy." I nodded, focusing on the task at hand. Success was the best revenge, and right now we were succeeding beyond my wildest dreams. "One more thing," Emerson said, pausing at her office door. "The award ceremony. They'll all be there. Your family, Josue, everyone who betrayed you." "Good." I smiled, measuring out our signature botanical blend. "I want them to have front row seats when their world falls apart." Andrea high-fived me. Now that's the spirit. As we worked through the afternoon, I felt stronger than ever. Josue's visit had shaken me, but not in the way he'd intended. Instead of fear, I felt validation. They were scared enough to send him, scared enough to threaten legal action. And they should be scared. Because in 2 weeks, I wasn't just going to reveal myself. I was going to reveal everything. The Beauty Innovation Awards ceremony buzzed with industry elite. Camera flashes popped as I stepped out of the limousine, my gold dress catching the light. Nobody recognized me yet. I was just another face in the crowd. "Ready?" Andrea squeezed my hand, resplendent in emerald green. "Born ready." I adjusted my clutch, which contained a USB drive loaded with evidence from Josue's files. "Is everything set?" "Presentation's queued up," she confirmed. "Emerson's inside with the tech team." We entered the grand ballroom, and I immediately spotted my family at their reserved table near the stage. Mom in her signature pearls, Dad looking smug, and Peyton practically preening in a red designer gown. They had no idea what was coming. There's your ex, Andrea whispered, nodding toward Josue, who sat beside Peyton. He caught my eye and paled visibly. Ladies and gentlemen, the host announced, please take your seats. The ceremony is about to begin. We found our table where Emerson waited with our legal team. Everything's in place, she murmured. The evidence is irrefutable. The first few awards passed in a blur. Then came the moment we'd been waiting for. And now the award for Most Innovative New Product. The host opened the envelope. Phoenix Rising Serum. The applause was thunderous. Industry insiders had been buzzing about our mystery product for weeks. As planned, Emerson took the stage first. Thank you, she said into the microphone. As the incubator behind Phoenix Rising, I'm honored. But there's someone else who deserves this recognition. Someone whose story needs to be told. That was my cue. I stood, feeling hundreds of eyes turned toward me. In my peripheral vision, I saw Peyton grab Mom's arm. Many of you know me, I said, taking the stage. Or rather, you knew my work under a different name. I'm Felicity, the original formulator of Owen's beauty products. The room erupted in whispers. My family's faces turned from confusion to horror as the screens behind me lit up with damning evidence. Emails plotting to steal my formula, meeting minutes discussing how to pressure me into signing, bank transfers showing how they'd manipulated company funds. But Phoenix Rising isn't about the past, I continued, my voice strong. It's about rising above betrayal, about creating something better. The screens switched to side-by-side comparisons, their failing product versus our soaring success, their plummeting sales against our waitlist of thousands. This award, I held up the crystal trophy, belongs to everyone who believes in second chances, in justice, in the power of truth. Dad stood up, his face red. This is slander. We'll sue— No, you won't, Emerson interrupted smoothly. Every document displayed here has been verified. Would you like us to show the offshore account transfers next? He sat down abruptly. Phoenix Rising isn't just a product, I concluded. It's proof that you can't steal talent, you can't fake expertise, and you can't keep a phoenix down. The applause was deafening. Beauty editors were frantically taking notes, photographers' cameras clicking rapidly. In the chaos, I saw Peyton flee the room, Josue following close behind. Mom approached the stage, her composure cracking. Felicity, please, we can talk about this. We're done talking. I turned to the audience. Phoenix Rising's full product line launches next week. And this time, everyone knows exactly who created it. The next hour was a whirlwind of interviews, congratulations, and industry leaders pressing their cards into my hands. Through it all, I watched my family huddled in a corner, their phones buzzing constantly as the story spread across social media. Check this out, Andrea showed me her phone. Our Phoenix Rising and Justice Served were trending. Our website had crashed from traffic. Ms. Owens, a reporter pushed forward. Your family's stock is plummeting. Any comment? I smiled directly into her camera. The beauty industry rewards authenticity. Draw your own conclusions. Later, as we celebrated at the after party, Emerson raised her champagne glass. To the most spectacular comeback in beauty history. To karma, Andrea added with a wicked grin. I watched through the window as my family's car sped away from the venue, their carefully constructed empire crumbling in real time. The satisfaction was sweeter than I'd imagined. To new beginnings, I said, clinking my glass with theirs. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was Peyton. You've ruined everything. I showed it to Andrea, who laughed. Should we tell her this is just the beginning? No need, I replied, deleting the message. She'll figure it out soon enough. Outside, photographers were still calling my name, wanting the shot of the night's biggest story. I stepped toward the window, letting the cameras catch my smile. They wanted a phoenix rising from the ashes? I'd give them an inferno. 2 months after the awards ceremony, I drove my new Tesla past my childhood home. The for sale sign on the lawn told its own story. My family's company had lost 70% of its value, and the fallout was still spreading. My phone rang through the car's speakers. Turn on CNBC, Andrea's voice commanded. Right now. I pulled over and switched on my phone's live stream. Peyton was on screen, looking considerably less polished than usual, giving a press conference. And so, effective immediately, I'm stepping down as Chief Innovation Officer. She was saying, recent events have made it clear that our company's foundation was built on questionable decisions. Holy shit, I whispered. Is she actually admitting it? Keep watching, Andrea said. Peyton's voice cracked. To my sister Felicity, I'm sorry. What we did was wrong. I was wrong. I sat there, stunned as she continued her public mea culpa. The comments streaming beside the video were brutal, but for once they weren't aimed at me. My phone buzzed with another call. Mom. After 7 weeks of silence, she was finally reaching out. I let it go to voicemail. You okay? Andrea asked, still on the line. Yeah, I watched as my old house grew smaller in the rearview mirror. I need to see something. I drove to our old lab, now shuttered and empty. Through the windows, I could see the remnants of what used to be my world. Abandoned equipment, dusty counters, faded posters of my original product line. A familiar figure stood by the entrance. Emerson. I had a feeling you'd come here today, she said as I got out of the car. Did you see Peyton's press conference? She nodded. Quite the performance, though I suspect the board forced her hand. They did. I showed her a text from Josue. Board gave her an ultimatum: resign and confess or face criminal charges. Speaking of criminal charges, Emerson pulled out a tablet. Our lawyers found something interesting in those offshore accounts. Your father... Stop. I held up my hand. I don't want to know. Let the authorities handle it. A black SUV pulled into the parking lot. Mom stepped out, looking older than I remembered. Felicity, she called out. Please, can we talk? Emerson squeezed my arm. Want me to stay? I shook my head. I've got this. Mom approached slowly, her designer handbag hanging awkwardly at her side. I saw your new billboard on the highway. It's beautiful. What do you want, Mom? To apologize. She fumbled in her bag, pulling out a familiar notebook. I found your original formulation journal, the one you kept in high school when you first started experimenting. I stared at the worn cover, remembering all the late nights spent scribbling ideas, dreaming of success. You were always so talented, she continued, but we were so focused on the family legacy, on maintaining control. We forgot about you, the real you. Forgot? I laughed bitterly. You didn't forget. You deliberately pushed me aside, stole my work, and tried to destroy my second chance. I know. Tears smudged her perfect makeup. And now we're losing everything. The house, the company. Your father might face charges. That's not my problem. No, it's not. She held out the notebook. But this belongs to you. It always did. I took the journal, its pages filled with my teenage dreams. Is this supposed to make everything okay? Nothing will make it okay. She wiped her eyes. But maybe someday we can try to be better, to do better. My phone buzzed. Andrea sending a screenshot of Phoenix Rising's latest sales figures. We just hit 8 figures in monthly revenue. I have to go, I said, turning away. We're launching our new line next week. I know, I've seen the previews. She managed a weak smile. It looks incredible. You've really risen above all this. I got back in my car, placing the old notebook on the passenger seat. In the rearview mirror, I watched my mother standing alone in front of the failed business she'd helped destroy. Emerson tapped on my window. Still on for dinner? Andrea's got the marketing team coming to present the holiday campaign. Yeah, I started the engine. But first, I need to make a stop. I drove to the local women's shelter, the same one I'd volunteered at during college. Inside, I handed the director an envelope. What's this? She asked. A grant, I explained. To start a business training program for women starting over. Sometimes people need a second chance. And someone to believe in them. As I drove to dinner, my old notebook sitting beside me, I felt lighter somehow. Success was the best revenge, true. But maybe there was something even better than revenge. Maybe it was showing others how to rise from their own ashes. The Phoenix Rising headquarters buzzed with energy as I walked through the lab, now 10 times larger than where we started. Andrea was training our newest chemist, while Emerson conducted a virtual meeting with our European distributors. "Ready for the big reveal?" Andrea called out, setting down her pipette. "As ready as I'll ever be." I smoothed down my blazer, checking my reflection in the lab window. Today wasn't just another product launch. Today was different. The Rising Stars program was about to change everything. Not just for me, but for others who needed their own second chances. The conference room was packed with press, industry leaders, and most importantly, the first class of Rising Stars participants. 20 women, each with their own story of starting over. "Ladies and gentlemen," Emerson began, "2 years ago, Phoenix Rising emerged from betrayal to become one of beauty's biggest success stories. Today, we're not here to talk about products. We're here to talk about people." I took the podium, facing the crowd. Success means nothing if we don't lift others up. Each woman in our first Rising Stars class has a dream and the talent to achieve it. What they needed was what I once needed: someone to believe in them. The screens behind me showed their faces, their stories: a domestic violence survivor with a revolutionary skincare concept, a former addict who'd developed natural healing remedies, a single mom with a game-changing hair care formula. "Phoenix Rising isn't just providing funding," I continued. "We're providing complete mentorship, lab access, legal protection, and distribution channels. These women aren't just getting a chance. They're getting everything they need to soar." Movement at the back of the room caught my eye. Peyton slipped in, looking different than I remembered. Simpler, more genuine somehow. She gave me a small nod. "But there's one more announcement," I said. "Starting today, Phoenix Rising is establishing the Fresh Start Foundation, $100 million dedicated to helping women rebuild their lives through entrepreneurship." The room erupted in applause. As cameras flashed, I watched our first class of Rising Stars hugging each other, tears streaming down their faces. This was what real success looked like. After the presentation, Peyton approached me. "That was incredible," she said softly. "Dad's going to prison, you know." I heard. The news had broken that morning. 5 years for fraud and tax evasion. Mom's selling her jewelry to pay the legal fees. Peyton twisted her now bare fingers. "I'm working at a department store cosmetics counter. It's humbling." Good. I met her eyes. Humbling can be healthy. I deserve that. She pulled out a small package. "I found this in my old things. Thought you might want it back." Inside was a faded photo. Teenage me in our first makeshift lab, mixing ingredients in Mom's kitchen bowls. Peyton watching admiringly from the doorway. "Remember how you used to let me test everything first?" she asked. "Before Mom and Dad got involved. Before I got greedy." "Stop." I held up my hand. "The past is done." "I know, She glanced around the state-of-the-art facility. "You've built something amazing here. Those women's stories, it's more than just business." Andrea appeared at my side, protective as always. "Everything okay here?" "Actually," I said, making a sudden decision. "Peyton was just about to help you train our new lab assistant. She does have experience after all." Both women stared at me in shock. "Are you sure?" Andrea asked. "Everyone deserves a chance to rise," I said, echoing my speech. "Even those who once pushed us down." Peyton's eyes filled with tears. "I don't deserve—" "No, you don't," I agreed. "But that's not the point. The point is doing better, being better. Starting from the bottom and earning your way up, for real this time." As Andrea led Peyton toward the training area, Emerson joined me. That was unexpected. Was it? I watched my sister don a lab coat, hands shaking slightly. Sometimes the best revenge is showing others a better way. My phone buzzed with notifications. The Fresh Start Foundation was trending. Our Rising Stars stories going viral. Real change, happening in real time. Ready to get back to work? Emerson asked. Those new formulas won't develop themselves. I looked around at what we'd built. Not just a company, but a movement. A place where second chances weren't just given, but earned. Where rising from the ashes meant helping others find their wings. Actually, I smiled, rolling up my sleeves. I think we're just getting started. Because that's the thing about phoenixes. They don't just rise once. They keep rising, higher and higher, lighting the way for others to follow. And this was just the beginning of our ascent.
I stood in our kitchen, chopping carrots for dinner, when my husband's laughter drifted down from upstairs. Not the polite chuckle he uses at work functions, but that rare, genuine laugh I hadn't heard in months. My knife stilled mid-slice. I'm Gabby, and until that moment, I thought I knew everything about my marriage. She's just going through a rough patch, Ryan was saying, his voice warm with concern. I'll stop by tomorrow after work. Yeah, around 6. A pause. Don't worry about it, Chloe. You know I'd do anything for him. Him? The carrot slipped from my fingers, rolling across the cutting board. Ryan had mentioned his old friend Chloe was back in town, but he'd never said anything about a him. Of course I'll bring the dinosaur book. Tell Liam I said goodnight. The knife clattered against the counter. Liam, Chloe's son. The one she'd had 5 years ago, right after moving away. The timing hit me like a punch to the gut. Love you too, Ryan whispered, so quietly I almost missed it. My hands trembled as I gripped the edge of the counter. The kitchen suddenly felt too small, too warm. Emma's drawings on the fridge, stick figures of our perfect little family, seemed to mock me. Hey, honey. Ryan appeared in the doorway, phone tucked into his pocket. Something smells good. I forced myself to pick up the knife again, focusing on the steady rhythm of chopping. Just making soup. My voice came out steadier than I expected. Work call? Yeah, just wrapping up some things for tomorrow. He kissed my cheek, casual as ever. Need any help? No. I dumped the carrots into the pot with more force than necessary. I've got it under control. Ryan lingered, watching me. Everything okay? You seem tense. I turned to face him, studying the man I'd married 12 years ago. His blue eyes held that familiar concerned expression, the one that used to make me feel cherished. Now it just made me wonder how many times he'd looked at Chloe that way. Actually, I said, I was thinking about Chloe. You mentioned she's back in town. His expression didn't change, but his hand twitched slightly against the counter. Yeah, moved back last month. She's teaching yoga at that new studio downtown. And she has a son? I kept my tone light, curious. Just a wife making conversation about her husband's old friend. Liam. Ryan nodded, reaching for an apple from the fruit bowl. Sweet kid. Having some trouble adjusting to the move. That must be hard, I said, watching him take a bite. Being a single mom. He chewed slowly, then checked his watch. I should get some work done before dinner. Call me when it's ready. I nodded, turning back to the stove. Behind me, his footsteps retreated upstairs to his home office, where he'd probably make more private phone calls to his old friend. The soup bubbled, steam rising in angry wisps. I stirred it mechanically, my mind racing through years of memories, searching for signs I might have missed. The way Ryan always changed the subject when Chloe came up. His occasional business trips that left him oddly refreshed instead of exhausted. The photo I'd found last week while cleaning, buried in his desk drawer, Chloe at the beach, laughing at something off camera. Her hand resting on a slightly rounded belly. 5 years ago. The spoon scraped against the bottom of the pot, and I realized I'd been stirring the same spot for minutes. Upstairs, I could hear Ryan's muffled voice, probably on another call. To her? To Liam? I pulled out my phone and opened my contacts, scrolling until I found my brother David's number. My finger hovered over it for a moment before I pressed call. Hey, sis, he answered on the second ring. What's up? David, I said quietly, I need your help with something. David's coffee went cold as he listened to my suspicions. We sat in a corner booth at Riverside Cafe, far from our usual spots, away from familiar faces. You really think Ryan would do that? He tapped his fingers against the ceramic mug. I mean, this is the guy who cried at Emma's kindergarten graduation. The same guy who whispered, "Love you," to another woman on the phone. My voice cracked. I pushed my untouched pastry away. You didn't hear him, David. The way he talked to her. Have you asked him directly? Oh, sure. Hey, honey, are you Liam's father? That'll go over well at dinner. A waitress approached with the pot, but David waved her away. Look, Gabby, you need more than just a phone call and an old photo. This could blow up your whole family. It's already blown up. I'm just the only one who knows it yet. I pulled out my phone, showing him Ryan's recent credit card statement. Look at these charges. Toys R Us, Children's Bookstore, Build-A-Bear. Emma's birthday was months ago. David leaned back, running a hand through his hair. Shit. There's more. I swiped to another screen. Weekly transfers to an account I don't recognize. Started 5 years ago, right after Liam was born. Could be anything. Investment account, maybe? The bell above the cafe door chimed. I glanced up and froze. Evelyn Miller, my mother-in-law, swept in like she owned the place. Her eyes locked onto our table immediately. Gabriella, David. What a lovely surprise. She air-kissed my cheek, her perfume overwhelming. I just had lunch with Ryan. He mentioned you weren't feeling well, dear. But here you are. My stomach clenched. Just needed some fresh air. And my brother's advice. Oh! Evelyn's perfectly penciled eyebrows arched. About what? Work stuff, David cut in smoothly. Gabby's thinking about getting back into marketing. But who would look after Emma? Evelyn's tone dripped with concern. Ryan works such long hours, and you know how important family is to him. I bit back a laugh. Yes, Ryan's very devoted to family. Speaking of family, Evelyn brightened. We're having dinner tomorrow night. Chloe's joining us. You remember her? Ryan's childhood friend? She's going through such a difficult time, poor thing. Single mother, you know how it is. Or, well, I suppose you don't. David's hand found mine under the table, squeezing tight. Actually, I said, I'd love to meet Chloe properly. And Liam. Something flickered across Evelyn's face. Oh, Liam has a sitter tomorrow. Just adult time. What a shame. I stood up, gathering my purse. Maybe another time then. David, walk me out. Outside, the autumn air bit at my cheeks. David waited until we were halfway down the block before speaking. You're right. Something's off. The way she showed up here? Ryan's watching me. I hugged myself against the chill. And that dinner tomorrow? Convenient timing. Want me to come with you? No. I straightened my shoulders. But I need another favor. Can you watch Emma tomorrow night? I have a feeling things might get complicated. David studied my face. What are you planning? Nothing yet. I managed a smile. Just keeping my options open. My phone buzzed, a text from Ryan. Mom said she saw you out. Feeling better. I typed back, much. Looking forward to dinner tomorrow. 3 dots appeared as he typed, disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, great. Love you. I stared at those 2 words, remembering how differently they'd sounded when he'd said them to Chloe. Another message popped up. Chloe's excited to meet you properly. I'm excited too, I replied, and for the first time since yesterday, I wasn't lying. David touched my arm. Be careful, sis. Whatever you're thinking. I'm done being careful. I pocketed my phone. I'm done being the perfect, understanding wife. Tomorrow night, I'm going to find out exactly what kind of man I married. And if you don't like the answer? The autumn wind whipped around us, carrying dead leaves past our feet. Then, I'll make sure he doesn't like what happens next. The text from David came at 6:15 p.m. He just left Chloe's house. Headed your way. I deleted it immediately, my hands steady despite the rage burning through me. Ryan had canceled our dinner plans, claiming a late meeting with clients. The dinosaur book sat on our kitchen counter, forgotten in his rush this morning. The front door opened at 6:45. I counted his footsteps, 4 to hang up his coat, 3 to the kitchen where I stood chopping vegetables for a dinner I wouldn't serve. Sorry I'm late, honey. He loosened his tie. Traffic was. How's Liam? The knife stilled against the cutting board. Ryan's reflection in the window froze. What? Liam. I turned around slowly. Chloe's son. The one you just spent 2 hours with instead of at your client meeting. Color drained from his face. You had me followed? Interesting that's your first concern. I picked up the dinosaur book. Not explaining why you lied or why you're playing daddy to another woman's child. It's not what you think. He reached for me, but I stepped back. Chloe needed help. For 5 years. My laugh sounded foreign, bitter. The money transfer started right after he was born, Ryan. Did you think I wouldn't notice? You checked my accounts? His voice hardened. That's crossing a line, Gabriella. A line? The book slammed against the counter. You want to talk about lines? How about the line between friendship and whatever the hell you're doing with Chloe? His phone buzzed. We both stared at it as Chloe's name lit up the screen. Answer it, I said. Tell her how you just got caught. Instead, he switched the phone off. We need to discuss this rationally. Chloe was alone, scared. Is he yours? The question hung between us like smoke. Ryan's jaw worked silently. Answer me. I don't know. The words fell like stones. She never said. But the timing. Something inside me shattered. I gripped the counter to stay upright. All these years. Every time you said you were working late. Every business trip. No. He stepped forward. It wasn't like that. We weren't. There was just one time, before she left town. I never meant. To get caught? My voice cracked. To have a secret son? To destroy our family? Our family isn't destroyed. He reached for me again. We can work through this. Emma, don't. I jerked away. Don't you dare use our daughter to manipulate me. I'm not manipulating anyone. I was trying to protect everyone involved. Everyone except me. I pulled out my phone, showing him the photo David had taken earlier, Ryan carrying Liam on his shoulders, both laughing. You look happy. Happier than you've been here in years. Gabby, please. The front door opened again. Evelyn's voice rang out. Hello? Anyone home? Ryan's eyes widened in panic. Don't. In here, Evelyn. I called back, not breaking eye contact with my husband. Perfect timing. We were just discussing Liam. Evelyn appeared in the doorway, taking in the scene, my rigid posture, Ryan's pale face, the dinosaur book between us. Oh, she said softly. Oh, Ryan, you didn't. Mother, I can explain. Can you? I cut in. Can you explain 5 years of lies? Of playing happy families with Chloe while I waited at home, trusting you. This isn't the way to handle this, Ryan snapped. You're being irrational. Irrational? I grabbed my keys. I'll show you irrational. I'm going to see Chloe. Gabriella, don't. What's wrong, Ryan? I was already moving toward the door. Afraid of what other secrets she might tell me? Where are you going? Evelyn called after me. To get answers. I paused in the doorway, looking back at my husband. And Ryan? Don't be here when I get back. The door slammed behind me, cutting off their protests. In my car, my phone buzzed with messages Ryan, Evelyn, even one from David warning me to calm down. I ignored them all, typing Chloe's address into my GPS. Time to meet the other woman who thought she knew my husband. Chloe's house looked exactly like I'd imagined, pristine white exterior, carefully tended garden. A child's bike lying carelessly across the front path. Perfect, except for the yoga mat forgotten in the rain. I didn't knock. The spare key was under the pot of dying mums, just where David had watched Ryan retrieve it hours earlier. The house smelled like lavender and something else, familiar cologne. Ryan's cologne. Hello? Chloe's voice drifted down from upstairs. Ryan? Did you forget something? My heels clicked against hardwood floors as I followed the sound. Family photos lined the stairwell, Liam at various ages, always alone or with Chloe. Until the most recent ones. There he was with Ryan at a baseball game at the park, building a snowman. I found her in what must be Liam's room, folding tiny t-shirts covered in dinosaurs. She turned, smile freezing when she saw me. Gabriella. She recovered quickly, smoothing her yoga pants. This is unexpected. Funny. I was going to say the same about finding my husband's life scattered all over your house. She set down a half-folded shirt. It's not what you think. Everyone keeps saying that. I picked up a framed photo from the dresser, Ryan teaching Liam to ride a bike. But it looks exactly like what I think. Ryan's just being kind. Helping out an old friend. Old friend? I traced Liam's face in the photo. Or old flame. Chloe's serene mask slipped. He told you. He didn't have to. 5 years of secret payments, mysterious appointments, forgotten dinosaur books. I met her eyes in the mirror. Liam has Ryan's eyes. Please. She stepped toward me. This isn't. We never meant. To hurt me? Then why send him that beach photo? The one where you're pregnant? She flinched. You found that. Last week. Right before the payments increased. I set down the frame. Blackmail looks good on you, Chloe. It's not blackmail. Her calm cracked. Ryan wanted to help. He chose to be part of Liam's life. After you threatened to tell everyone the truth? I never threatened anything. But her eyes darted away. He made his own choices. Like the choice to sleep with you 5 years ago? Or the choice to lie to his wife every day since? Movement caught my eye, a small figure in the doorway. Liam stood there, clutching a stuffed dinosaur, staring at us with Ryan's eyes. Mommy? His voice trembled. Is Daddy coming back tonight? The world tilted. Daddy. Not Ryan. Daddy. Chloe rushed to him. Sweetie, go back downstairs. Mommy's talking to a friend. I know who she is. Liam looked at me. You're in the pictures Daddy hides in his office. With Emma. My phone buzzed. Ryan calling again. I silenced it, but not before seeing his text. Please come home. We can fix this. Fix what? I whispered, more to myself than them. The fact that my daughter has a secret brother? That my whole marriage is a lie. It's complicated, Chloe said, holding Liam closer. No, it's actually very simple. I pulled out my phone, scrolling to the photos David had taken. Ryan chose this. Chose you. Both of you. I showed her the screen, dozens of pictures spanning months. Ryan and Liam at the park, at restaurants, at school events. A secret family album. He loves Emma too, she said quietly. Enough to risk losing her? I headed for the stairs. Hope your perfect little family was worth it, Chloe. Because tomorrow, everyone knows the truth. Wait, she called after me. What are you going to do? I paused at the front door, looking back at them, the yoga instructor and the little boy with my husband's eyes. I'm going to do what Ryan never could. Make a choice. My phone buzzed again as I reached my car. This time it was Aiden, Ryan's best friend. We need to talk. There's something you should know about Chloe. I started the engine, watching Liam wave goodbye through his bedroom window. Tomorrow, I'd destroy the carefully constructed lie they'd all protected for 5 years. But tonight, I needed to hear what Aiden knew. After all, the best revenge requires perfect timing. Aiden was waiting at Murphy's bar, nursing what looked like his third whiskey. The place was nearly empty, perfect for the kind of conversation that could destroy lives. You shouldn't have come alone, he said as I slid onto the bar stool beside him. Funny. Ryan said the same thing about Chloe 5 years ago. He winced. You've got it wrong. Do I? I pulled out my phone, showing him the photos. Because it looks pretty clear from here. That's not. He drained his glass. Chloe wasn't just Ryan's friend. She was his alibi. The word hung between us like smoke. Alibi for what? Remember that merger 5 years ago? The one that made Ryan partner. Aiden's fingers drummed against the empty glass. There were irregularities. The SEC started asking questions. What does this have to do with Chloe? Everything. He signaled for another drink. Ryan needed someone to verify his whereabouts during certain meetings. Chloe provided dates, times, receipts. She made it look like they were having an affair to cover up the financial stuff. I laughed, the sound sharp enough to make the bartender glance over. So he pretended to have an affair to hide fraud, then actually had an affair, and now has a secret child? That's your defense. Liam isn't Ryan's. The world tilted. What? Chloe was already pregnant when Ryan asked for her help. She used him. threatened to tell the SEC everything unless he played along. Aiden pushed his fresh drink away. She's been bleeding him dry ever since. But the photos, the visits. Ryan's trying to protect everyone. If Chloe talks, he goes to prison. The SEC investigation is still open. My phone buzzed, a text from Ryan. Please come home. I can explain everything. Why tell me this now? I studied Aiden's face. After 5 years of lying? Because Chloe's getting greedy. She's demanding more money, threatening to tell Emma about her brother. Ryan's desperate. And you expect me to what? Feel sorry for him. I expect you to think about Emma. About what happens to her if Ryan goes to prison. The bartender approached. I waved him away, my mind racing. Does Evelyn know? About the fraud? No. She just thinks Ryan's being noble, helping an old friend. Aiden's laugh was bitter. Chloe played everyone perfectly. My phone buzzed again, David this time. Where are you? Ryan's here looking for you. If what you're saying is true, I said slowly, I could destroy them both. Chloe for blackmail, Ryan for fraud. And destroy your daughter's life in the process. I stood up, gathering my purse. You know what's funny? Everyone's so worried about protecting Emma. But none of you thought about protecting me. Gabby, wait. I'm done waiting. I headed for the door. Tell Ryan I got his messages. And tell him to be ready for tomorrow's family dinner. It's going to be memorable. What are you going to do? I paused, hand on the door. I'm going to give everyone exactly what they deserve. Outside, the night air was sharp with autumn chill. My phone lit up with another text from Chloe this time. We need to talk. About Liam. About everything. I typed back 3 words. Tomorrow. Dinner. 7. Then I called David. I need one more favor. Gabby, Ryan's looking everywhere for you. He seems scared. Good. I started my car. I need you to get me something from the office. Ryan's old files from the merger 5 years ago. Why? Because tomorrow night, everyone's masks come off. I pulled onto the street, heading home. And I want to make sure I'm holding all the cards when they do. The last text I sent was to Evelyn. Dinner's still on for tomorrow. Invite everyone. It's time for some family truth-telling. Her response was immediate. What are you planning? I didn't answer. Let them all wonder. Let them all worry. Tomorrow, they'd learn what happens when you back a woman into a corner and expect her to stay quiet. Tomorrow, they'd learn about revenge. The dining room gleamed with false perfection, crystal glasses, fine china, family photos mocking us from every wall. I'd set 7 places, though Emma was safely at David's house. Some conversations weren't meant for children's ears. Evelyn arrived first, clutching her signature casserole. Gabriella, dear, perhaps we should postpone. Sit down, Evelyn. I poured her wine with steady hands. You'll want to be seated for this. Ryan came next, then Aiden. They exchanged glances, taking their places without meeting my eyes. The merger files David had retrieved sat in a manila envelope beside my plate, untouched. The doorbell rang again. Chloe stood there, wearing yoga pants and determination. You said we needed to talk. I said we needed truth. I gestured to the dining room. All of us. She hesitated, then stepped inside. Liam's with a sitter. Of course he is. I closed the door. Wouldn't want him hearing about Daddy's fraud investigation. Ryan's wine glass crashed to the floor. Evelyn gasped. Aiden closed his eyes. That's right. I took my seat at the head of the table. Let's start with the SEC investigation from 5 years ago. The one Chloe helped cover up by pretending to have an affair with Ryan. Gabriella, Ryan started, you don't understand. Actually, I understand perfectly. I opened the envelope, spreading documents across the table. False receipts. Fake meeting records. All carefully crafted to hide where the money really went. Chloe's serene mask cracked. You can't prove anything. Can't I? I pulled out my phone, playing a recording. Chloe's voice demanding more money, threatening to expose everything. David's not the only one who knows how to follow people. You recorded me? Her yoga-toned shoulders tensed. That's illegal. So is blackmail. I turned to Evelyn. Did you know your perfect son committed fraud to make partner? That he paid Chloe to lie about an affair to cover it up? that she's been bleeding him dry ever since. Evelyn's face went ash-white. Ryan, it wasn't like that, he pleaded. The merger was falling apart. I had to. Had to what? I cut in. Had to lie? Had to risk everything? Had to play daddy to Chloe's son to keep her quiet? Liam isn't his. Chloe's voice cracked. I never said he was. You all assumed. We assumed nothing. I pulled out one last document. I had a DNA test done. With that dinosaur book Ryan left behind? The one covered in Liam's saliva. The room froze. Ryan's face drained of color. Would you like to know the results? I stood slowly. Would you like to know which one of you has been lying about Liam's paternity? Don't. Chloe's calm finally shattered. Please. Why not? Isn't that what this dinner is about? Truth. The truth, Ryan said quietly, is that I was trying to protect everyone. By destroying everything? I laughed, the sound brittle. Our marriage? Emma's security? Your career? I never meant. To get caught? I tossed the DNA results onto the table, unopened. Here's your truth, Ryan. I don't need to know if Liam's yours. I don't need to know if the affair was real or just cover for fraud. What I need is for everyone to understand exactly what they've done. What do you want? Chloe whispered. Want? I looked around the table, at Ryan's fear, Evelyn's shock, Aiden's guilt, Chloe's desperation. I want you all to live with your choices. The SEC gets these files tomorrow. The divorce papers are already filed. And Emma. My voice finally cracked. Emma never has to know her father chose lies over love. You'll destroy everything, Ryan said. No. I headed for the door, grabbing my coat. You did that yourself. Every lie, every choice, every moment you put your secrets above your family. I'm just making sure everyone pays the proper price. Where are you going? Evelyn called after me. To pick up my daughter. I paused in the doorway. The truth's all there on the table. Eat up. The door closed behind me, cutting off their protests. In my car, I finally let my hands shake, let the tears fall. Tomorrow would bring consequences, investigations, revelations. But tonight, for the first time in years, I could breathe. Sometimes revenge tastes like freedom. The SEC investigators arrived at 9 a.m. sharp. I watched from my car as they entered Ryan's office building, briefcases in hand. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since last night. Ryan, Evelyn, even Chloe. I ignored them all. Until Aiden's text, Chloe's gone. Took Liam. Ryan's losing it. I found Ryan in our empty house, surrounded by scattered papers and half-packed boxes. The DNA test results lay unopened on the coffee table between us. Did you read it? I asked. Couldn't. His laugh was hollow. Doesn't matter now anyway. Chloe's running. With your money? With everything. He looked up, eyes red-rimmed. The SEC's here. Evelyn's not speaking to me. And you. He gestured helplessly. You destroyed everything. No. I picked up the test results. You did that yourself. Every lie, every choice. I had no choice. He surged to his feet. The merger was falling apart. Chloe offered an alibi. It was supposed to be simple. But then she got pregnant. Not by me. His voice cracked. She was already pregnant when she approached me. But she knew. Knew I'd do anything to keep the fraud hidden. So she played me. Played everyone. My phone buzzed. David. Found Chloe. Airport. Terminal C. She's running with your money, I said quietly. Everything you tried to protect, gone. Ryan's face crumpled. I deserve it. All of it. But Emma doesn't. Please, don't let her think. Think what? That her father chose lies over love? That he built a life on secrets and fraud? That I didn't love her enough to tell the truth? The front door opened. Chloe stood there, Liam clutching her hand. No yoga pants now, just travel clothes and desperation. You're not going anywhere, I said. Watch me. She pulled out her phone. One call to the SEC. They're already here. I opened the DNA results, finally reading what I'd known all along. And they know everything, including who Liam's real father is. Chloe's face went white. You can't. Aiden Carter. I met her eyes. Ryan's best friend. The one who helped set up the merger. The one who introduced you to Ryan in the first place. Ryan's head snapped up. What? Tell him, Chloe. Tell him how you and Aiden planned it all. How you used Ryan's guilt over the fraud to bleed him dry. How you made him play father to another man's child just to keep your secrets. It wasn't. Chloe's serene mask cracked completely. Aiden said it would be easy. Just pretend to have an affair, provide an alibi. But then I got pregnant and he panicked. Said Ryan would help, would keep quiet to protect everyone. So you took his money. Played on his guilt. Made him think he might be Liam's father. I needed security. Tears streaked her perfect makeup. Aiden wouldn't help. Said he'd deny everything. But Ryan was noble. Protective. Easy to manipulate. Get out. Ryan's voice was ice. Take your son and go. But the money's gone. All of it. I've already confessed everything to the SEC. You'll go to prison, she whispered. Maybe. He picked up a family photo, Emma on his shoulders, both laughing. But at least my daughter will know I finally chose truth over lies. Chloe fled, dragging Liam with her. The door slammed behind them. The SEC's waiting, I said quietly. Ryan nodded, straightening his tie. I know. Will you? Will you tell Emma I'm sorry? That I tried to fix it in the end. Tell her yourself. When you get out. He paused at the door. I did love you, Gabby. That was never a lie. I know. I watched him walk away, shoulders straight. That's what made the betrayal worse. My phone buzzed one last time. David, SEC has Aiden in custody. Confessed everything. I deleted the message along with all the others. Outside, Ryan's car pulled away, heading toward judgment and consequences. Inside, I stood in our empty house, surrounded by the wreckage of lies and the strange, clean feeling of truth. Sometimes revenge looks like justice after all. The divorce papers lay signed on my lawyer's desk, their crisp finality at odds with the mess they represented. Outside, autumn had given way to winter, matching the chill that had settled over our fractured lives. Ryan's sentencing is tomorrow, David said, walking me to my car. 3 to 5 years, probably. Aiden got 7. I pulled my coat tighter. Chloe disappeared with Liam. Evelyn's selling the house. And you? I smiled, surprising myself with how genuine it felt. I'm going back to work. Morrison and Associates offered me my old position. Marketing executive by day, single mom by night? He bumped my shoulder. Sounds exhausting. Sounds like freedom. My phone buzzed, a text from Ryan. Can we talk? Before tomorrow. I found him at our old spot in Riverside Park, the bench where he'd proposed 12 years ago. He looked smaller somehow, his designer suit replaced by department store casual. Emma asks about you, I said, sitting beside him. What do you tell her? That her father made mistakes, but loves her enough to face them. He nodded, watching a family pass by, mother, father, laughing children. I kept thinking about that DNA test. How it could have been mine. How I almost wanted it to be, to justify everything. Would it have made a difference? No. He smiled sadly. That's what I finally understood. The lies were the problem, not the reasons for them. Did you ever wonder why I left the test unopened at first? Because you already knew the truth? Because the truth about Liam didn't matter. I stood, brushing off my coat. What mattered was what the lies revealed about us. About you. About me. About you. I wanted revenge. Wanted to destroy everything you built on lies. The winter wind caught my hair. But in the end, the truth was revenge enough. Ryan's shoulders slumped. I'm sorry. For all of it. I know. I started to walk away, then paused. Emma's dance recital is next month. I'll send you pictures. Gabby? His voice was small. Was any of it real? Us. I thought about our wedding day, Emma's birth, countless small moments of genuine love buried under years of deception. The love was real. The trust wasn't. And you can't have one without the other. At home, Emma was waiting, homework spread across the kitchen table. Mom, can I ask you something? Always. Are you sad about Dad? About everything. I sat beside her, looking at her math problems, simple equations, clear answers. If only life were that straightforward. I'm sad about the choices he made, I said carefully, but not about standing up for the truth. Even though it hurt people, sometimes the truth hurts less than lies in the long run. She nodded, wise beyond her years. Like ripping off a Band-Aid? Exactly like that. My phone buzzed one last time. Evelyn, Ryan's lawyer, called. He's pleading guilty tomorrow. No deals, no excuses. Said you taught him about facing consequences. I deleted the message without responding. Outside, snow began to fall, covering our garden in clean white. The revenge I'd sought had transformed into something else, not forgiveness, exactly, but understanding. Understanding that sometimes justice looks like letting go, like choosing truth over comfort, like teaching your daughter that love without honesty is just another pretty lie. Emma returned to her homework, humming softly. I watched her, this child who would grow up knowing that strength sometimes means walking away, that love sometimes means demanding better. That truth, however painful, is always preferable to comfortable deception. The snow fell harder, erasing footprints, covering the past in clean possibility. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new choices, new chances to choose truth over lies. But tonight, in this moment, we were exactly where we needed to be. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well, on your own terms, in your own truth.
The day my father betrayed me started like any other family gathering, with fake smiles and hollow pleasantries. I stood in our family's grand living room, watching my stepmother Meredith arrange fresh-cut roses in an antique vase, while my father paced near his mahogany desk, checking his watch every few minutes. My name is Jessica, and I'd spent the last 3 years working alongside my father at his company, learning every aspect of the business he'd promised would one day be mine. That promise died today. "Everyone, please sit down," my father announced, his voice carrying that authoritative tone I'd grown up respecting. "I have an important announcement to make." Quentin, my stepbrother, sprawled across the leather armchair with a smug expression that made my stomach turn. At 22, he'd never worked a day in his life, preferring to spend his time partying and posting about his entrepreneurial mindset on Instagram. "As you know," my father continued, "I've been considering the future of our family business." He smiled at Meredith, who beamed back at him. "After careful consideration, I've decided to transfer majority ownership and control to Quentin." The words hit me like a physical blow. I gripped the armrest of the sofa, my knuckles turning white. "What?" The word came out as a whisper. "It makes perfect sense," Meredith chimed in, placing her hand on Quentin's shoulder. "A fresh perspective is exactly what the company needs." "Dad," I managed to say, fighting to keep my voice steady. "We talked about this. I've been working there for 3 years. I have an MBA. I know every client, every supplier." "Jessica, please," my father cut me off, raising his hand. "This decision wasn't made lightly. Quentin has some innovative ideas that align better with our future vision." Quentin leaned forward, his designer watch glinting in the afternoon light. "Don't worry, sis. I'll make sure to keep you on in some capacity. Maybe in HR?" I stood up abruptly, my legs shaking. "Some capacity? Dad, you promised me. You said when I finished my MBA." "Things change, Jessica," Meredith interrupted. "We have to think about what's best for the family." "The family?" I laughed, but it came out more like a sob. "I am your family. I'm your daughter." My father wouldn't meet my eyes. "You'll still receive your salary, of course, but Quentin will be taking over as CEO next month." "Next month?" The room started spinning. "You've already decided everything?" "The paperwork is being finalized," my father said, finally looking at me. "I'm sorry if this disappoints you, but it's what's best for everyone." I grabbed my purse, nearly knocking over a side table in my haste. "Congratulations, Quentin," I managed to say, proud that my voice didn't crack. "I hope you enjoy running the company I spent 3 years helping to build." "Jessica, don't be dramatic," Meredith called after me as I headed for the door. "This is exactly why we needed someone more level-headed in charge." I paused at the doorway, turning back one last time. "Dad?" He still wouldn't look at me. We can discuss this later, Jessica. No, I said quietly. We won't. I walked out of that house with my head held high, waited until I reached my car, and then let the tears fall. My phone buzzed. A message from my best friend Lucy. How did it go? I started the engine, my vision blurring. They gave everything to Quentin, I typed back. Everything I worked for. Everything Dad promised me. Lucy's response was immediate. I'm coming over. Don't do anything stupid before I get there. As I drove away from my childhood home, I caught a glimpse of my father watching from the window. For a moment, our eyes met, and I saw something flicker across his face. Regret, maybe? But then Meredith appeared beside him, and he turned away. 3 years of my life. 3 years of early mornings, late nights, missed vacations, and canceled dates. 3 years of learning every aspect of the business, of earning the respect of our employees and clients. All of it handed to Quentin on a silver platter because his mother had wormed her way into my father's life and convinced him that her precious son deserved my inheritance. My phone buzzed again. Lucy, we'll figure this out. You're not alone. I took a deep breath, wiping away the last of my tears. Lucy was right. This wasn't over. I might have lost my inheritance, but I hadn't lost my knowledge, my experience, or my determination. They wanted to push me aside? Fine. But they were about to learn that I was my father's daughter in more ways than one. And I didn't give up without a fight. 3 days after my world imploded, I sat in Virgil's law office, surrounded by towering bookshelves and the smell of old leather. The family lawyer had known me since I was in pigtails, and his familiar, weathered face showed genuine concern as I recounted what had happened. I just don't understand, I said, twisting a tissue in my hands. How could he legally do this? I thought the company was meant to be split between any children. Virgil removed his reading glasses, rubbing the bridge of his nose. Your father restructured the company ownership last year. As majority shareholder, he had the right to transfer his shares to whoever he chose. Last year? The betrayal cut deeper. So he'd been planning this? Jessica. Virgil hesitated, then stood up and walked to a large filing cabinet. There's something else you should know. Something about your grandmother's will. My grandmother had passed away 5 years ago, leaving everything to my father. Or so I'd thought. Virgil returned with a thick folder, placing it on his desk with careful precision. Your grandmother was a remarkable woman, and she was, let's say, prescient about certain possibilities. He pulled out a document and handed it to me. There's a clause here that your father doesn't know about. Your grandmother set up a trust fund in your name, with very specific conditions. My hands shook as I read the paper. $2 million? I whispered. But why didn't I know about this? The clause stipulated that you could only access the money if you started your own successful business by the age of 30. Your grandmother believed in entrepreneurship, not just inheritance. She wanted her legacy to inspire creation, not dependence. I sat back, stunned. Does my father know about this? Virgil shook his head. No. Your grandmother was very clear. This information was to be revealed only to you, and only if you were ever disinherited from the family business. She knew, I breathed. Somehow she knew something like this might happen. Your grandmother watched your father marry Meredith, Virgil said quietly. She had concerns. My phone buzzed. Another message from Lucy asking how the meeting was going. I ignored it, focusing on the document in my hands. What qualifies as a successful business? I asked. According to the terms, you need to show a profitable quarter within your first year of operation. The business must be entirely yours. No family involvement. I let out a shaky laugh. No risk of that anymore? There's more, Virgil said, pulling out another document. Your grandmother left detailed records of various business contacts, potential opportunities, even market research she'd conducted. She wanted to give you tools, not just money. Why didn't she just tell me all this before she died? She believed you needed to find your own path first. Her words were, Jessica needs to understand what it means to lose everything before she can truly build something of her own. I stood up and walked to the window, watching traffic flow below. $2 million, I repeated. That's enough to start something real. It is, Virgil agreed. But Jessica, this won't be easy. Starting a business never is, trust fund or not. I turned back to him, feeling something I hadn't felt in days. Hope. Nothing worth doing ever is, right? There's one more thing, Virgil said, his expression serious. If you accept this challenge, you can't tell anyone about the trust fund. Not your father, not Meredith, not even Lucy. The money must appear to come from your own savings and investors. Your grandmother was adamant about this. Why? She wanted your success to be yours alone. No one could claim they helped you or that you had an unfair advantage. I nodded slowly, a plan already forming in my mind. Can I take these documents to review? Of course. Virgil gathered them into a folder. Jessica, your grandmother believed in you. She saw something in you that reminded her of herself. As I stood to leave, Virgil called after me. One last thing. Meredith called yesterday, asking if you'd been here. She seemed concerned about any potential legal action. I smiled, thinking of my stepmother's worried face. Let her worry. I've got better things to focus on now. Walking out of the office building, I finally replied to Lucy's messages. Meet me for coffee. I've got an idea. My grandmother had given me more than money. She'd given me a chance to prove myself, to build something of my own. And unlike the inheritance my father had promised, this was something no one could take away from me. I looked up at the sky, silently thanking my grandmother for her foresight. She'd known I might need an escape route, and she'd provided one, but only if I was willing to work for it. Challenge accepted, Grandma. An eco-friendly business? Lucy stirred her latte, raising an eyebrow. That's quite a pivot from corporate finance. We sat in our favorite coffee shop, laptops open, surrounded by the buzz of afternoon customers. I'd spent the last hour outlining my ideas, careful to avoid mentioning the trust fund. Think about it, I said, turning my laptop to show her my research. The market for sustainable products is exploding. People want to feel good about their purchases, but they don't want to sacrifice quality or convenience. Lucy leaned forward, scanning the screen. And you're thinking, what exactly? Salt, biodegradable packaging solutions for businesses. Everything from takeout containers to shipping materials. I pulled up another tab. Did you know most companies want to go green but can't find reliable suppliers? The few that exist charge astronomical prices. And you think you can do better? I know I can. I opened my spreadsheet. I've already found 3 potential manufacturers who can produce at scale. If we can streamline the supply chain and build direct relationships with businesses, we could revolutionize the industry. Lucy's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and frowned. Heads up, Quentin's been asking around about you. Apparently, Meredith's worried you're planning some kind of legal action. Let them worry, I said, thinking of the folder from Virgil sitting safely in my apartment. I've got bigger plans. Speaking of plans, Lucy said, lowering her voice, how are you going to fund this? Starting a business isn't cheap, and you just lost your job. I'd prepared for this question. I've got savings, and I'm planning to approach investors. My experience at Dad's company gives me credibility. Jess, Lucy hesitated. Are you sure you're not just doing this to prove something to your father? I'm doing this for me, I replied firmly. Dad made his choice. Now I'm making mine. The coffee shop door chimed, and I froze as Quentin walked in, wearing his usual designer outfit that screamed, "Trust fund, baby." He spotted us and sauntered over, pulling up a chair without asking. Well, well, he smirked. Planning your next career move? I heard HR is hiring. I closed my laptop slowly. Actually, I'm starting my own company. His laugh was sharp. You? A company? With what money? That's none of your business, Lucy cut in, her tone icy. Look, sis. Quentin leaned forward, his voice dripping with fake concern. Why don't you come back to the company? I could use someone with your administrative skills. I appreciate the offer, I said, keeping my voice steady, but I'll pass. Some of us prefer to build something of our own, rather than having it handed to us. His smile faltered. Dad's worried about you, you know. He thinks you're not thinking clearly. Dad lost the right to worry about me when he gave you everything he promised me. I started packing up my things. Tell him I'm fine, better than fine, actually. Whatever you're planning, Quentin called as we stood to leave. It won't work. You're not cut out for this. I turned back, meeting his gaze. Watch me. Outside, Lucy linked her arm through mine. You know what? I'm in. Whatever you need, market research, networking, anything. Let's show them what you can do. I hugged her, grateful for her support. First step, we need to find office space. Something professional, but not too expensive. Already on it. Lucy pulled out her phone. There's a new co-working space downtown. Very eco-friendly. They might even become your first client. As we walked, I spotted my reflection in a store window. I looked different somehow. Stronger, more determined. My grandmother had built her own empire from nothing. Now it was my turn. My phone buzzed with a text from my father. Quentin says you're starting a business. Let's talk about this. Come to dinner tomorrow? I showed Lucy the message. She snorted. He's probably worried you'll become competition. Not yet, I replied, typing out a response. Can't make dinner. Too busy building my future. I hit send and turned off my phone. You know, Lucy said as we reached her car, your grandmother would be proud of you. If only she knew how right she was. I smiled, thinking of the trust fund waiting to be activated. But first, I had to prove I could do this on my own terms. Come on, I said, getting into the passenger seat. Let's go look at that office space. I've got some ideas for the pitch deck we need to create. As we drove away, I caught sight of Quentin watching us from the coffee shop window. Let him watch. Let them all watch. They thought they'd knocked me down, but they'd actually set me free. And I was going to soar. Your samples look impressive. Sarah, the restaurant chain executive, turned the biodegradable container in her hands. But how can you guarantee consistent supply? We've been burned before by startups that couldn't deliver. I sat in her sleek downtown office, 3 months into building my company, GreenShift Solutions. The meeting was my biggest pitch yet, a potential contract that could make or break us. We've already secured partnerships with 3 manufacturing facilities, I replied, pulling up the supply chain presentation on my tablet. I can show you our production capacity projections. I've seen the numbers, Sarah interrupted. What I need to know is why I should trust you over established suppliers. I leaned forward. Because unlike them, we're not just selling products. We're offering a complete packaging transition solution, including staff training and waste management consultation. Plus, our prices are 20% lower. Sarah's eyebrows shot up. 20%? How? Streamlined operations and direct manufacturer relationships. No middlemen. I didn't mention the trust fund that had helped secure those relationships. We can start with a trial run if you prefer. Before Sarah could respond, my phone buzzed. Quentin's name flashed on the screen. I declined the call. Family business? Sarah asked, noticing my expression. Former family business, I corrected. I'm building something new now. She nodded slowly, then reached for the contract. Let's start with a 3-month trial. 2 locations. If it works out, we'll discuss expanding to all 30 restaurants. My heart soared, but I kept my expression professional as we shook hands. Outside her office, I finally let myself smile. Our first major client. My phone buzzed again. Quentin had left a voicemail. Against my better judgment, I played it. Hey sis, heard you're making waves in the eco-friendly space. Let's grab coffee. I have a proposition that could benefit us both. I deleted the message and called Lucy instead. We got it, I announced when she picked up. The restaurant chain contract. I knew you would, Lucy cheered. This calls for celebration. Drinks tonight? Can't. Meeting with potential investors tomorrow morning. Rain check? You're working too hard, Lucy sighed. But I get it. Just don't forget to... She was cut off by another incoming call. My father this time. I ignored it. Still not talking to them? Lucy asked. Nothing to say. I reached my car, juggling my phone and briefcase. They made their choice. I'm making mine. Back at our small office in the co-working space, I found Quentin waiting by my desk. He wore his usual smirk, but something about his expression seemed forced. Nice setup. He gestured around the modern space. Very modest. What do you want, Quentin? Can't a brother check on his sister? He perched on my desk. Actually, I have a business proposal. Dad's company is looking to go green. Good PR, you know. We could use your services. I stared at him. You want me to supply packaging to the company you stole from me? Come on, Jess. It's just business. Think about it. Guaranteed contracts, stable income. Dad feels bad about how things turned out. This could be a way to keep you in the family business. I have my own family business now, I replied, setting down my briefcase. And we're doing just fine without your help. Are you? He picked up a prototype container. These startup costs must be killing you. Where'd you get the capital anyway? That's none of your concern. I took the container from his hands. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do. Dad's not going to like this, Quentin called as I walked him to the door. He thinks you're being stubborn. Dad lost the right to an opinion about my choices. I held the door open pointedly. Send my regards to Meredith. After he left, I sank into my chair, hands shaking slightly. They were getting nervous. Good. The restaurant chain contract would be announced next week, and then everyone would know Green Shift Solutions was a serious player. My phone lit up with a text from Sarah. Contract signed and sent to your lawyer. Looking forward to working together. I smiled, thinking of my grandmother. She'd built her empire from nothing, facing much bigger obstacles than I was. The trust fund helped, but the vision, the work, the determination, that was all me. Opening my laptop, I began preparing for tomorrow's investor meeting. Let Quentin run my father's company into the ground. I was building something better, something sustainable, in every sense of the word. The future was green, and I was going to lead the way. Not as my father's daughter or Quentin's stepsister, but as my own person, as my grandmother's granddaughter. The sustainability conference hall buzzed with energy as I finished setting up our Green Shift Solutions booth. 6 months of hard work had led to this moment, our official launch into the broader market. Press badges mingled with corporate name tags in the growing crowd. Hi, everything looks perfect. Lucy adjusted our banner. The prototypes are getting a lot of attention already. A reporter from the Business Weekly approached, notebook in hand. Ms. Jessica, I'd love to get your thoughts on disrupting the sustainable packaging industry. Before I could respond, a familiar voice cut through the crowd. Disrupting? That's a bit ambitious, isn't it? Quentin stood there, wearing a suit that probably cost more than our booth rental. Behind him, my father and Meredith lingered, watching the scene unfold. What are you doing here? I asked, keeping my voice level. Industry event, sis. Open to all players. Quentin picked up one of our display containers. Though calling these revolutionary seems like a stretch, we're launching our own eco-friendly line next quarter, actually. The reporter's pen moved quickly across her notepad. Mr. Quentin, you're saying your company is entering the sustainable packaging market as well? Indeed, he smiled. With our resources and established client base, we'll be able to offer much more competitive pricing than smaller operations. Lucy stepped forward, but I touched her arm. Actually, I said to the reporter, I'd love to discuss our recent contract with national restaurant chain. They chose us specifically for our innovative approach and cost-effective solutions. The reporter's eyes widened. National restaurant chain? That's a significant account for a new company. We've also secured partnerships with 3 major retail chains. I continued, watching Quentin's smirk fade. Would you like to see our impact projections? Jessica, my father stepped forward, his voice low. Can we talk privately? Sorry, Dad. I'm busy with potential clients. I turned back to the reporter. Shall we discuss those projections? As I walked away with the reporter, I heard Meredith whisper, How did she land those contracts so quickly? The next hour flew by in a whirlwind of interviews and demonstrations. Our booth drew consistent crowds, especially after the Business Weekly tweeted about our national restaurant chain partnership. "This is going better than we hoped," Lucy beamed, handling another inquiry. "We've got 5 potential clients wanting meetings next week." I spotted Quentin arguing with my father near the entrance, gesturing angrily in my direction. Moments later, he stormed over to our booth. "Real cute," he spat. "You just had to steal the spotlight, didn't you?" "Steal?" I laughed. "Like you stole my inheritance? That company was handed to me fair and square." "Exactly." I met his gaze. "Nothing in your life was earned, Quentin. That's the difference between us." "You think you're so clever." He lowered his voice. "But where did you get the startup money, huh? Dad's been asking questions. Something doesn't add up. Sounds like a you problem." I turned to greet another potential client, but Quentin grabbed my arm. "Listen, you little... Is there a problem here?" A tall man in an expensive suit interrupted. "I'm Thomas from Eco Retail Group. We're very interested in your products, Jessica. But if this isn't a good time..." Quentin released my arm, forcing a smile. "No problem at all. Just a family discussion." "Former family," I corrected, extending my hand to Thomas. "Shall we discuss your packaging needs?" As I led Thomas to our meeting area, I caught sight of my father watching from across the hall. For a moment, our eyes met. He looked older somehow, worried. Meredith whispered something in his ear, and they turned to leave. "Impressive operation you've built," Thomas commented, reviewing our catalog. "Your grandmother would be proud." I froze. "You knew my grandmother?" He smiled. "Margaret was a force of nature. We served on several boards together. She always said her granddaughter would shake things up someday." Tears pricked at my eyes, but I blinked them away. "I hope I'm living up to her expectations." "From what I've seen today, you're exceeding them." He pulled out a business card. "Let's set up a proper meeting. Eco Retail Group has over 200 stores that need sustainable packaging solutions. By the end of the day, we'd collected more business cards than I could count." Lucy hugged me as we packed up the booth. "You showed them," she said. "You showed everyone." I watched Quentin leave with his tail between his legs, no doubt heading back to report our success to my father. Let them worry. Let them wonder. My phone buzzed with a text from Virgil. "Your grandmother's trust fund is officially activated. First profitable quarter confirmed. Congratulations." I smiled, tucking the phone away. The money had helped, but today's success? That was all mine. And this was just the beginning. Green Shift Solutions announces 3rd consecutive quarter of growth. Lucy read from her tablet, feet propped on my new office desk. Eco-friendly packaging startup disrupts industry with innovative solutions. I gazed out the floor-to-ceiling windows of our downtown headquarters, still amazed at how far we'd come in 18 months. Read the part about the expansion again. Under CEO Jessica's leadership, the company has secured contracts with major retailers and restaurants nationwide, with plans to expand internationally by next quarter. The door burst open, and Maria, our office manager, rushed in. "Jessica, you need to see this." She handed me her phone, displaying a breaking news article. "Joseph Industries stock plummets amid environmental violations and mismanagement concerns." "Your father's company?" Lucy leaned over my shoulder to read. "Oh, wow, this is bad." The article detailed how my father's company had been caught disposing of toxic materials illegally, trying to cut costs after several quarters of declining profits. Quentin's leadership was specifically mentioned as a factor in the company's downturn. My phone started ringing, Meredith's number. I declined the call. "They're saying the fines could be in the millions," Maria added, "plus the cleanup costs." Another call, my father this time. I sent it to voicemail. Lucy sat up straight. "You don't think they'll try to..." "Come to me for help?" I finished. "They already are." I showed them my phone screen, displaying a text from Quentin. "Need to talk. Family emergency, please." "What are you going to do?" Lucy asked quietly. Before I could answer, Maria's phone buzzed. "They're in the lobby," she said. Your father and Quentin. Should I send them away? I thought about all the nights I'd cried myself to sleep after they took my inheritance, about Quentin's smug face at every industry event, about my father's silence when I needed him most. No, I decided. Send them up. 5 minutes later, they stood in my office, looking distinctly uncomfortable. My father had aged years and months, and Quentin's designer suit couldn't hide his desperation. Nice office, my father said, looking around. You've done well for yourself. What do you want? Quentin stepped forward. We need your help. The environmental violations. They happened under the old system before we took over, but you covered them up instead of fixing them, I finished. I saw the report. The fines will bankrupt us, my father said quietly. We need a partner with experience in sustainable practices, someone who can help us transition and rebuild trust. And you thought of me? I laughed. How convenient. Look, Quentin's voice cracked. I know we were wrong about everything. You clearly know what you're doing. We're offering you a chance to come back, to be part of the family business again. Part of the family business? I stood up. You mean the business you stole from me? The one you've run into the ground? Jessica, please. My father stepped forward. We're family. Family? I walked around my desk. Where was family when you gave everything to Quentin? Where was family when he tried to sabotage my company? Where was family when Meredith spread rumors about my funding sources? They both had the grace to look ashamed. I built this company from nothing, I continued. No family connections, no inherited clients, just hard work and vision. Something neither of you would understand. We can offer you majority shares, Quentin said desperately. Whatever you want. I don't want your failing company, I replied. I have my own. My father sank into a chair. Without help, we'll lose everything. Like I lost everything? I pressed a button on my desk. Maria, please show them out. Jessica. My father stood, looking older than I'd ever seen him. I'm sorry for everything. I made a terrible mistake. For a moment, I felt my resolve waver. Then I remembered my grandmother's words in her will. Jessica needs to understand what it means to lose everything before she can truly build something of her own. I'm sorry too, Dad, I said softly. But you made your choice. Now you have to live with it. After they left, Lucy hugged me. Are you okay? I looked around my office, at the awards on the walls, the growing team beyond my door, the skyline view I'd earned through my own efforts. You know what? I smiled. I really am. My phone buzzed with another text from Quentin. Please reconsider. We need you. I deleted it without responding. They'd needed me before, when I was working 80-hour weeks learning the business. They'd needed me when I brought in new clients and modernized systems. They just hadn't valued me. Now they could watch as their company crumbled while mine soared. Sometimes karma worked in perfect ways. The news of Joseph Industries' bankruptcy splashed across every business publication. I sat in my office, scrolling through the headlines. Family company collapses. Environmental violations lead to corporate downfall. CEO Quentin steps down amid crisis. A knock on my door interrupted my reading. Maria poked her head in. Your father's here again. Third time this week. I sighed, closing my laptop. Send him in. He entered slowly, looking nothing like the powerful businessman I'd grown up admiring. His suit hung loose on his frame, his hair now more gray than black. The house is being sold, he said without preamble, sinking into the chair across from me. Meredith's filing for divorce. I heard. I kept my voice neutral. Where's Quentin? Dubai, supposedly, trying to secure investors. He laughed bitterly. No one will touch us now. I poured 2 cups of coffee, sliding one across to him. Why are you here, Dad? I had a lot of time to think lately, he said, staring into the cup. About choices, about legacy. Your grandmother would be so disappointed in me. Probably, I agreed. She believed in earning success, not handing it over. Like you did. He gestured at my office. 2 years ago, I thought I was protecting the company by giving it to Quentin. I convinced myself he had the right qualities, that you were too emotional. And now? Now I watch you in the news, leading the industry, changing how business is done. He looked up, eyes glistening. You did everything I always wanted for the company, just without me. I had help, I said, thinking of my grandmother's trust fund. Just not from you. The trust fund? He nodded. Virgil finally told me about it last week. Mother always was 3 steps ahead of everyone. I froze. You know about that? She set it up right after I married Meredith. He smiled sadly. She saw what I couldn't, or wouldn't. That I was letting my new wife influence my judgment, letting her push you out. It wasn't just Meredith, I said quietly. You made your choices, Dad. I did. He pulled an envelope from his jacket. That's why I'm here. These are my remaining shares in Joseph Industries. They're not worth much now, but... He slid the envelope across my desk. They should go to you. They always should have been yours. I stared at the envelope. I don't want them. I know. He stood up. But I need you to have them, not to save the company. It's too late for that. But because they belong to you. Because I was wrong. Dad, you know what the worst part is? He moved to the window, looking out at the city. Watching you succeed without me. Knowing I could have been part of something extraordinary if I just believed in my own daughter. I joined him at the window. I would have made you proud. You did make me proud, Jessica. Just not the way I expected. He turned to face me. You built something better than I ever could. You did it your way, the right way. Is that why Meredith's leaving? Because you lost everything? He shook his head. She's leaving because Quentin emptied their accounts before he fled. Like mother, like son, I suppose. Despite everything, I felt a twinge of sympathy. What will you do now? Start over, get a small apartment, maybe consult, if anyone will hire me. He straightened his tie. I'm not here to ask for help, Jessica. I just needed you to know that I understand now. And I'm sorry. As he turned to leave, I called out, Dad? He paused at the door. There's a coffee shop around the corner. They make decent breakfast sandwiches. If you wanted to, maybe next week. A small smile crossed his face. I'd like that. After he left, I opened the envelope, looking at the worthless shares of my father's fallen company. Then I glanced at my own company's latest financial reports. Another record quarter. Lucy burst in. Did I just see your dad leaving? Are you okay? I'm fine, I said, and meant it. Actually, I'm better than fine. What did he want? I tucked the envelope into my desk drawer. To admit he was wrong, to say he's proud of me. And are you going to help him? I thought about my grandmother, about legacy, about earning success. No, I said finally, but I might have breakfast with him next week. Lucy smiled. Your grandmother would approve of that. Looking out at my growing empire, I knew she was right. Sometimes karma wasn't about revenge. It was about finding your own path, even when others tried to block it. And sometimes, just sometimes, it was about being strong enough to listen when those who wronged you finally admitted their mistakes. The autumn breeze rustled through the cemetery as I placed fresh flowers on my grandmother's grave. The marble headstone gleamed in the morning sun, her name etched in elegant script. I brought someone to see you, Grandma, I said softly, stepping aside as my father approached. He placed his own bouquet beside mine, his hands trembling slightly. We'd been meeting for breakfast every Wednesday for the past month, slowly rebuilding what we'd lost. Today, he'd asked to come here with me. Hello, Mother, he said, voice thick with emotion. I should have visited sooner. My phone buzzed. Another news alert about Quentin. He'd been arrested in Dubai, trying to use fake documents to access frozen accounts. Meredith had already fled to Europe with whatever she'd managed to salvage from the wreckage of their lives. Did you see the news? Dad asked. I nodded. Karma has a way of catching up. That it does. He straightened up, adjusting his now-worn tie. I have something to tell you. I got a job offer yesterday. Small consulting firm, helping companies transition to sustainable practices. Dad, that's wonderful. They found me through you, actually. Said if I taught you everything you know about business, I must be worth hiring. He smiled wryly. I told them you taught me more than I ever taught you. A familiar voice called from behind us. Jessica, I thought I might find you here. We turned to see Virgil approaching, carrying a folder. Your grandmother left instructions to give you this after certain conditions were met, he said, handing me the folder. You've exceeded all of them. Inside was a letter, written in my grandmother's distinctive handwriting. My dearest Jessica, if you're reading this, you've done more than simply claim your inheritance. You've earned it. You've built something meaningful, something sustainable. But more importantly, you've learned the lesson I hoped you would. That true success comes not from what we're given, but from what we create. I'm sorry I had to be secretive about the trust fund, but I needed you to find your own strength. Your father had to learn his lesson too, though I suspect his will be harder. Remember, legacy isn't about money or power, it's about impact. Make yours count. All my love, Grandma. Tears blurred my vision as I passed the letter to my father. He read it silently, then folded it carefully. She knew, he said quietly. She knew I would fail you, and she prepared for it. She knew you could learn from it, I corrected. Just like she knew I needed to lose everything to build something better. Virgil cleared his throat. There's more. Your grandmother left instructions for a charitable foundation to be established once you proved yourself. The paperwork is ready. She wanted you to lead it. I stared at him. A foundation? To help young entrepreneurs, especially women, start sustainable businesses. He smiled. She believed in paying it forward. My father touched the headstone gently. That sounds exactly like her. Looking between my grandmother's grave and the folder in my hands, I felt everything come full circle. She hadn't just given me an escape route, she'd given me a mission. Dad, I said suddenly, would you like to help? With the foundation? Your experience could be valuable. He looked startled, then deeply moved. You'd trust me with that? Trust is earned, I replied. Just like success. But everyone deserves a chance to rebuild. Virgil handed me a pen. Shall we make it official? As I signed the foundation documents on my grandmother's grave, I felt a profound sense of peace. My father stood beside me, not as the man who had betrayed me, but as someone learning to be better. Somewhere in Europe, Meredith and Quentin were facing the consequences of their actions. And here I was, building something new again, not out of revenge or spite, but out of hope. What would you name it? My father asked. I looked at my grandmother's name on the headstone, remembering her strength, her foresight, her belief in earning one's way. The Legacy Foundation, I decided, because true legacy isn't what we inherit, it's what we build. The autumn wind picked up, scattering leaves around us. In that moment, I could almost feel my grandmother's approval. She'd known all along that losing my inheritance would lead me to something greater. Not just success, but understanding. Not just wealth, but wisdom. And as I stood there between my father and my grandmother's grave, holding the future of a new foundation in my hands, I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well, building better, and helping others do the same. That was the real inheritance my grandmother had left me, and I intended to make it count.
The cream-coloured envelope sat on my kitchen counter like a ticking bomb. Another Norton family reunion invitation, another chance for my mother-in-law, Evelyn, to remind me of my greatest failure. I traced my finger along the gold-embossed edges, fighting the urge to tear it to shreds. My name is Victoria, and for the past 8 years, I've been married into one of Boston's most traditional families. The kind where Sunday dinners are mandatory, and having children isn't just expected, it's practically written into the prenup. You're staring at that invitation like it might bite you, Logan said, wrapping his arms around my waist from behind. My husband's touch was gentle, but I could feel the tension in his body. He knew what was coming. Your mother called again this morning. I said, turning to face him. She wanted to remind me about the reunion, as if the formal invitation wasn't enough. Logan's face fell slightly. What did she say this time? Oh, you know Evelyn. She started with the usual small talk about Claire's new baby, then somehow managed to mention that all 4 of her bridge club friends became grandmothers this year. I forced a smile. Subtle as a sledgehammer, your mother. Vic, I can tell her to back off. Can you? I stepped away from him, my voice sharper than intended. Because the last 3 times you said that, you sat there quietly while she went on about her friend's daughter who had twins through IVF. The kitchen fell silent except for the gentle hum of the refrigerator. Logan ran his hands through his hair, his tell when he's frustrated. It's complicated. It's really not. I grabbed my coffee mug and walked to the sink, needing something to do with my hands. Your mother thinks I'm defective because I haven't given her grandchildren. End of story. My phone buzzed on the counter. Lindsay's name flashed across the screen and my heart softened immediately. I answered, turning away from Logan. Hey, sweetie, everything okay? Aunt Vic, can you help me with my history project, the one about family trees? Lindsay's voice carried the same gentle lilt as her mother's, my sister Jade's, and it made my chest ache. Of course. I'll pick you and Camden up after school, okay? We can work on it at my place. After hanging up, I caught Logan watching me with that look, the one that mixed love with guilt. He knew about my promise to Jade, made in a sterile hospital room 5 years ago. The promise that changed everything. They need me, I said simply. I know. Logan stepped closer, hesitating. But maybe if we told my family about Lindsay and Camden. No. The word came out like a whip crack. They're not props to make your mother feel better about my choices. They're my sister's children and I promised to protect them. The doorbell rang, saving us from another circular argument. I opened it to find Cora, my best friend since college, holding 2 cups of coffee and wearing her intervention face. You got the reunion invitation, didn't you? She asked, pushing past me into the house. Logan, sweetie, give us a minute. Logan nodded, grabbing his keys. I need to head to the office anyway, we'll talk later. After he left, Cora handed me one of the coffees. Spill it. How bad was Evelyn's latest passive-aggressive attack? She sent me a link to a fertility specialist. Said she's worried about my biological clock. I sank onto the couch, the weight of years of judgment pressing down on my shoulders. Jesus. Cora sat beside me. You know, you could just tell them the truth. About Jade, about the kids. And have Evelyn Norton, queen of the country club set, know that her daughter-in-law is raising her dead sister's children instead of producing proper Norton heirs. I laughed bitterly. She'd probably try to have my marriage annulled. Or maybe she'd finally understand why you've made the choices you have. Cora touched my arm. Vic, I was there when Jade made you promise. I saw what it did to you. You're not just their aunt. You're the only mother they have left. My phone buzzed again. A text from Camden asking if we could have pizza for dinner. Looking at his message, I remembered the day of Jade's funeral, holding my sister's hand as she made me swear to give her children the life she no longer could. The reunion's in 2 weeks, I said, putting my phone down. Maybe it's time the Norton family learns what real family loyalty looks like. Cora's eyes widened. Victoria Norton, are you planning something? I smiled, thinking of Jade, of Lindsay and Camden, of all the times I've swallowed Evelyn's barbed comments. Let's just say karma's been a long time coming. The Norton family's dining room always felt like a courtroom, with Evelyn presiding as judge and jury. Tonight was no different as I sat at the massive mahogany table, watching her arrange flowers with surgical precision while delivering her latest verdict on my life choices. Did you hear about Patricia's daughter? Evelyn asked, not looking up from her roses. She just found out she's expecting twins, and she's 42. She paused meaningfully. Modern medicine is simply miraculous these days. I gripped my wineglass tighter, counting to 10 in my head. Logan squeezed my knee under the table but remained silent. That's wonderful for Patricia, I managed, taking a long sip of Merlot. Indeed. Evelyn's perfectly manicured fingers adjusted a stem. You know, Victoria, I ran into Dr. Harrison at the club yesterday. He's one of the top fertility specialists in Boston. I took the liberty of making you an appointment. Mother, Logan finally interrupted, but his voice lacked conviction. What? I'm simply looking out for my son's interests. She turned to Logan. Darling, you're not getting any younger. Don't you want children of your own? My phone vibrated in my purse, probably Lindsay asking about tomorrow's science test. I reached for it, but Evelyn's sharp look made me pause. No phones at dinner, Victoria. We're having family time. I bit back a laugh at the irony. If only she knew about the family waiting for me at home. Matthew, Logan's brother, arrived late as usual, bringing a welcome interruption. Sorry, everyone. Traffic was hell. He kissed Evelyn's cheek and gave me a sympathetic smile. Of all the Nortons, he'd always been the most human. Matthew, dear, you remember Caroline from the club? Evelyn brightened. She's divorced now and she has the most adorable little boys. I thought perhaps... Mom, stop. Matthew dropped into his chair. I'm perfectly happy being single. And while we're at it, maybe ease up on Vic about the baby thing. The room went silent. Even the grandfather clock in the corner seemed to hold its breath. I'm simply concerned, Evelyn said, her voice dropping to that dangerous whisper I'd come to dread. When Logan married Victoria, we all assumed they'd start a family right away. 8 years later, she spread her hands in a gesture that managed to convey both helplessness and accusation. There's nothing wrong with Victoria, Logan said, but his defense came too late and too weak. Of course not, dear, but perhaps there are other issues we should discuss. Evelyn's eyes locked onto mine. Victoria, have you considered that maybe you're being selfish? The word hung in the air like poison gas. I thought of Lindsay and Camden waiting at home with their sitter, of homework help and nightmare comfort and birthday parties, of being there for every moment their mother couldn't be. Selfish? I set my wine glass down carefully. That's an interesting choice of words. Well, dear, you must understand. Logan comes from a long line of... My phone buzzed again. This time I grabbed it. Victoria, Evelyn warned. It's important, I said, checking the message. Camden's fever had spiked to 102. I need to go. In the middle of dinner? Evelyn's voice could have frozen hell. Really, Victoria, whatever it is can surely wait. No, it can't. I stood up, gathering my things. Logan, are you coming? He hesitated, looking between his mother and me. Vic, maybe we should... Fine. I grabbed my keys. I'll handle it myself, like I always do. Handle what? Evelyn called after me. Victoria, this behavior is completely unacceptable. Matthew followed me to the door. Everything okay? Camden's sick, I whispered. He needs me. His eyes softened with understanding. He was the only Norton who knew about Jade's kids. He'd caught me picking them up from school one day and kept my secret. Go. I'll smooth things over here. As I drove home, my phone rang. Logan. You embarrassed my mother, he said without preamble. Camden has a fever of 102, but sure, let's talk about your mother's feelings. Vic, you know how she is. If you'd just explain... Explain what? That while she's been busy judging me for not giving her grandchildren, I've been raising 2 kids who actually need me. That I made a promise to my dying sister? Maybe it's time we told them, he suggested quietly. I thought of Evelyn's smug face, of her constant criticism, of 8 years of judgment. Oh, we will, but it'll be on my terms, not hers. What does that mean? It means I'm done playing by her rules. I pulled into my driveway, seeing the babysitter's worried face through the window. I have to go. Your nephew needs me. I hung up before he could respond, already focused on the family that truly mattered. She actually made you a fertility appointment? Cora nearly spilled her latte in outrage. We were sitting in our usual corner of the coffee shop, away from prying ears. That woman has officially lost her mind. That's not even the worst part. I pulled out my phone, showing her Evelyn's latest text. She sent me this article about career women who wait too long this morning, right after I spent the entire night taking care of Camden's fever. How is he, by the way? Better. Finally got his temperature down around 3 a.m. I rubbed my tired eyes. Logan didn't come home until after midnight. Said he had to smooth things over with his mother. Of course he did. Cora's voice dripped with sarcasm. Heaven forbid Evelyn's delicate sensibilities get bruised while your nephew was sick. My phone rang. Lindsay's ringtone. Hey, sweetie, everything okay? Aunt Vic, can you pick me up early? There's this stupid mother-daughter tea thing at school and I can't. Her voice cracked. My heart squeezed. I'll be there in 20 minutes. We'll get ice cream instead, okay? After hanging up, I met Cora's knowing look. Mother-daughter tea? Yeah. I started gathering my things. These events are always hard on her. Last year, some kid asked why her mum never comes to anything, and she had a panic attack in the bathroom. And meanwhile, Evelyn's out there acting like you're some selfish monster for not having kids. Cora shook her head. Vic, you need to tell them. Not for Evelyn's sake, but for Lindsay and Camden. They deserve to be acknowledged. I know. I sighed, remembering Jade's last days. It's just complicated. Jade was so private about her illness. She didn't want anyone's pity, especially not for the kids. But she's gone, honey. And those kids are your family now. The Nortons should know, especially Logan's mother. Maybe then she'd understand why you've made the choices you have. My phone buzzed with a text from Logan. Mom wants us all at dinner again tonight. Please come. I'll make it up to you. Perfect timing, I muttered, showing Cora the message. Go to the dinner, she said, surprising me. But this time, don't let Evelyn walk all over you. Stand up for yourself. And for those kids. An hour later, I sat in my car outside Lindsay's school, watching her walk toward me with slumped shoulders. At 14, she looked so much like Jade it hurt sometimes. Hey, she said, sliding into the passenger seat. Her eyes were red. Hey, yourself. I handed her a tissue. Want to talk about it? Not really. She wiped her eyes. Can we just get that ice cream? At the ice cream parlor, watching Lindsay demolish a triple chocolate sundae, I made a decision. The Norton family reunion is next weekend. She looked up, spoon halfway to her mouth. Oh, are you going? We're going, I corrected. You and Camden both. Her eyes widened. Really? But I thought... does Mr. Logan's family even know about us? They will. I reached across the table, squeezing her hand. It's time they knew about their amazing niece and nephew, about your mom, about everything. What if they don't like us? Then that's their loss. I felt stronger just saying it, but you and Camden are part of my family and I'm done pretending otherwise. My phone rang again. Logan. Are you coming to dinner tonight? He asked without preamble. Yes, I said, watching Lindsay scrape the bottom of her sundae bowl. But we need to talk first, really talk, about the reunion, about your mother, about everything. Vic, no, Logan, I mean it. Either we do this my way, or I'm done playing happy families with your mother while my real family stays hidden. The line went quiet for a moment. Okay, he finally said. We'll talk. After hanging up, I looked at Lindsay. How about we grab Camden and have a movie night? I think we could all use one. She smiled. Jade's smile. Can we watch Mum's favourite? Princess Bride. Always. Driving home, I thought about Evelyn's perfectly arranged dinner parties, her carefully curated image of family perfection. By this time next week, that image would be shattered. The thought should have scared me, but instead I felt lighter than I had in years. My phone buzzed with another text from Evelyn. Wearing that navy dress tonight would be more suitable than the black one from last time. More maternal. I actually laughed out loud. Let her obsess over dresses and appearances. Soon she'd learn what real motherhood looks like. Messy, complicated, and more beautiful than her perfect roses could ever be. The Norton family reunion buzzed with perfectly orchestrated chaos. Evelyn had outdone herself, transforming her sprawling backyard into something from a magazine spread. White tables dotted the lawn, each topped with fresh peonies and pristine tablecloths that probably cost more than my monthly grocery bill. You're late, Evelyn said by way of greeting, eyeing my simple blue dress with barely concealed disappointment. And you didn't wear the outfit I suggested. I was busy. I glanced at my watch. Right on time, actually. Logan's parking the car. Well, Patricia's daughter is here. The one expecting twins. I thought you two might have lots to discuss. Actually, I cut her off. I have someone I'd like you to meet. I turned toward the garden gate where Matthew was walking in with Lindsay and Camden. We'd arranged for him to bring them, knowing I'd need the support. Evelyn's perfectly penciled eyebrows drew together. Who are these children? Before I could answer, Logan appeared beside me, freezing when he saw the kids. We'd discussed this moment for days, but seeing it actually unfold had him looking pale. Everyone, I called out, my voice carrying across the yard. The casual chatter died down as faces turned toward us. I have an announcement to make. Victoria, Evelyn hissed. This is hardly the time. It's exactly the time. I walked over to Lindsay and Camden, putting an arm around each of them. I'd like you all to meet my niece and nephew, Lindsay and Camden Hunter, my sister Jade's children. The silence was deafening. I could practically hear the gears turning in Evelyn's head. I don't understand, she finally said. What are they doing here? They're here because they're family. My family. I squeezed the kids' shoulders. For the past 5 years since my sister passed away, I've been raising them. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Patricia's pregnant daughter had the decency to look embarrassed about their earlier conversation. 5 years? Evelyn's voice rose an octave. You've been raising children for 5 years and never thought to mention it. You never asked. I met her gaze steadily. You were too busy arranging fertility appointments and sending me articles about biological clocks to notice I was already a mother. Logan stepped forward. Mother, I can explain. You knew about this? Evelyn turned on him. You knew she was raising someone else's children instead of giving us proper grandchildren. Camden flinched at her words. I felt a surge of protective anger. Proper grandchildren, I laughed, but there was no humour in it. These are proper children, Evelyn. They're smart and kind and brave. They lost their mother when they were too young, and instead of showing an ounce of compassion or interest in their lives, you've spent years treating me like I'm defective. I think, Matthew interrupted, we should all sit down and discuss this calmly. Discuss what? Evelyn's voice was shrill. How my daughter-in-law has been living a lie? How my son has been complicit in this deception? The only deception, I said quietly, was pretending your approval mattered more than my promise to my dying sister. Lindsay spoke up then, her voice small but clear. Our mum made Aunt Victoria promise to take care of us. She's been amazing. She never misses a school event or a soccer game or... That's enough, Evelyn snapped. This is a family matter. They are family, I shouted, surprising even myself. They're more family than you've ever been. While you've been planning dinner parties and judging my life choices, I've been helping with homework and handling nightmares and trying to fill the hole their mother left behind. The party had gone completely silent. Even the birds seemed to be holding their breath. Logan, Evelyn appealed to her son, surely you can't approve of this situation. Logan looked between his mother and me, then at the kids. Something in his expression shifted. Actually, Mother, I do approve. Victoria's been an amazing mother to Lindsay and Camden. I'm sorry we didn't tell you sooner, but given your attitude, can you blame us? Camden tugged at my sleeve. Aunt Vic, maybe we should go... No, I said firmly. We're not going anywhere. This is a family reunion and we're family. Evelyn's face had gone from red to white. I need a moment. She turned and walked stiffly toward the house. Well, Matthew said into the awkward silence, who wants some punch? Kids? As he led Lindsay and Camden toward the refreshment table, Logan touched my arm. That was brave. That was necessary, I corrected him, watching Evelyn's retreating back. And we're just getting started. The truth was finally out, and like a summer storm, it had cleared the air, but left destruction in its wake. Now we'd see what grew from the wreckage. The aftermath of my announcement settled over the reunion like an uncomfortable fog. Small clusters of relatives huddled together, whispering behind their punch cups while stealing glances at Lindsay and Camden. Did you see how fast Evelyn bolted? Matthew handed me a glass of wine. I thought she was going to leave skid marks on that precious lawn of hers. I'm more worried about the kids, I watched as Lindsay picked at her plate, barely touching the food. Camden had attached himself to Logan, who was awkwardly trying to explain the rules of croquet. They're tougher than you think, Matthew said. Just like their aunt. A commotion near the house drew our attention. Logan was storming out, his face red, with Evelyn following close behind. Don't you dare walk away from me, she called out. We're not finished discussing this. Yes, we are, Mother. Logan's voice carried across the lawn. I've listened to you berate my wife for 8 years. I'm done. I started toward them, but Matthew caught my arm. Let him handle this. You've let her make a mockery of this family. Evelyn's voice was reaching new heights. Taking in those children instead of... Instead of what? Logan whirled around. Instead of having proper children? Do you hear yourself? Those kids lost their mother. Victoria stepped up when they had no one else. If anything, that makes her more worthy of respect, not less. Several guests began making discreet exits, mumbling awkward goodbyes. I noticed Lindsay had disappeared and found her sitting alone behind a large oak tree. Hey, I said, sliding down beside her. You okay? Everyone's fighting because of us. She pulled her knees to her chest. Maybe we shouldn't have come. No, they're fighting because of years of secrets and judgment. None of this is your fault. She hates us, Lindsay whispered. Mr. Logan's mum. She looked at us like we were something gross on her shoe. Evelyn looks at everyone that way. It's her default setting. I bumped her shoulder playfully, earning a small smile. Victoria. Evelyn's voice made us both jump. She stood there, impeccable despite her earlier exit, looking down at us with an unreadable expression. A word, please. I squeezed Lindsay's hand before standing. Stay here, okay? Evelyn led me to a quiet corner of the garden. Logan tells me you made a promise to your sister. I did. And these children, they're well cared for. They're loved, I corrected. They're supported. They're given everything they need, including the space to miss their mother without feeling guilty about it. She flinched at that. You should have told us. Would it have made a difference? Would you have stopped pushing me about having babies if you knew I was already raising 2? They're not, she paused, choosing her words carefully. They're not actually your children. No, they're not. They're my sister's children who I love as my own. And if you can't understand that kind of love, then I feel sorry for you. Don't patronize me, she snapped. I've raised children. I know about love. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, you've spent years trying to force your son and me into some perfect mold instead of seeing what was right in front of you. A crash from the lawn interrupted us. Camden had knocked over a croquet wicket, sending several glasses shattering. Before I could move, Logan was there, helping him clean up, making him laugh about it. He's good with them, Evelyn said quietly, watching her son. He is. When you're not around to make him second-guess everything. She turned to me sharply. That's unfair, is it? Logan loves those kids, but he's spent 5 years hiding that love because he was afraid of your reaction. And look, he was right to be afraid. I need time to process this. Take all the time you need, but understand something, Evelyn. Those kids are my family. They're not going anywhere, and neither am I. As if on cue, Camden came running over. Aunt Vic! Uncle Logan says we can have ice cream, can we? I caught Logan's eye across the lawn. He gave me a small nod, a silent acknowledgement of the shift in our world. Sure, buddy. But maybe we should head home for it. It's been a long day. Victoria? Evelyn called as we turned to leave. The children, perhaps they could come to Sunday dinner next week. I studied her face, looking for signs of manipulation but finding only uncertainty. We'll think about it. Walking back to where Lindsay still sat under the tree, I felt lighter somehow. The truth was messy and uncomfortable, but it was out there now, impossible to ignore or hide away. Ready to go home? I asked, helping Lindsay up. She looked back at Evelyn, who was watching us with an expression caught between regret and curiosity. Yeah, but maybe it'll get better now. Maybe, I agreed, gathering Camden close. But either way, we have each other. 3 days after the reunion, I found myself staring at another text from Evelyn. The children's rooms at my house could use updating. What colours do they prefer? She's trying, Logan said, reading over my shoulder as he made coffee. In her own way. By redecorating? That's such an Evelyn solution. Throw money at it until it feels less uncomfortable. The doorbell rang before Logan could respond. I opened it to find Evelyn herself standing there, looking oddly uncertain in a casual sweater set. Casual for her, anyway. I brought breakfast, she said, holding up a bag from the fancy bakery she loved. And an apology. Logan nearly dropped his coffee mug. I stepped aside to let her in, catching sight of Lindsay frozen at the top of the stairs, watching with wide eyes. The kids are getting ready for school. Oh. Evelyn set the bag down on the kitchen counter. I suppose I should have called first. That would have been nice, yes. I started pulling plates from the cabinet, more for something to do than anything else. Camden, your backpack is still in the living room. Lindsay called up the stairs, then froze when she saw Evelyn. Oh. Good morning. Good morning, Lindsay. Evelyn's voice was softer than I'd ever heard it. I brought croissants, if you'd like one before school. Lindsay looked at me questioningly. I nodded. Thanks, she said, sliding onto a kitchen stool. They smell good. Camden thundered down the stairs then, his usual morning whirlwind. Aunt Vic, I can't find my science homework, and I need it today because… Oh. He stopped short at the sight of Evelyn. An uncomfortable silence filled the kitchen. Check the blue folder, I said finally. The one we organised last night? Right. He darted back upstairs. He's energetic, Evelyn observed. He's 10, I replied, and running late, as usual. Lindsay, can you go help him find that folder? Once the kids were upstairs, Evelyn turned to me. I've been doing a lot of thinking. That must have been uncomfortable for you, I couldn't help saying. Victoria, Logan warned. No, she's right to be angry. Evelyn smoothed her already perfect hair. I've been difficult. Difficult? I laughed. You've been cruel. Not just to me, but to Logan. Do you know how hard it's been for him, keeping this secret because he was afraid of your reaction? Mom, Logan started, but Evelyn held up a hand. Let me finish. She took a deep breath. When your sister died, Victoria, when you took in her children, you were doing exactly what a mother should do. What I should have done was support you, not judge you. Found it! Camden came racing back down, waving his folder triumphantly. He skidded to a stop in front of Evelyn. Are you really our grandmother now? The question hung in the air like a live wire. Camden, I began, but Evelyn surprised me. I'd like to be, she said quietly, if you'll let me. Lindsay appeared at the bottom of the stairs. Why? Because you feel guilty? Lindsay, Logan admonished, but I shook my head at him. She had a right to ask. Partially, yes, Evelyn admitted, but also because I've missed out on 5 years of knowing 2 remarkable children. Because my son loves you both. Because your aunt has shown me what real strength looks like. Mom, Logan's voice cracked. We should go, I said, checking the time. The kids will be late for school. Of course, Evelyn stood. But perhaps dinner on Sunday? All of us? I looked at the kids. Camden was already nodding enthusiastically, but Lindsay was more hesitant. Can we think about it? Lindsay asked. Of course you can. Evelyn smiled. A real smile, not her usual social mask. Take all the time you need. As I drove the kids to school, Lindsay was unusually quiet. What are you thinking? I asked. Do you trust her? She asked. After everything? I thought about Evelyn's careful armour, about how it had cracked when Camden called her grandmother. I trust that she wants to try, I said finally. Sometimes that's all we can ask for. Mom would have hated her, Lindsay said, then laughed a little. Oh, absolutely. But your mom also believed in second chances. Yeah. Lindsay looked out the window. Maybe we could try Sunday dinner, just once. My phone buzzed with another text from Evelyn. The children's rooms. Purple for Lindsay, blue for Camden. We can shop this weekend if they'd like. I showed it to Lindsay, who rolled her eyes but smiled. She really doesn't do subtle, does she? Nope. I typed back a quick response. Ask them yourself on Sunday. Sometimes karma works in mysterious ways, I thought. Sometimes it looks like croissants and paint samples and the slow, careful building of bridges you never expected to cross. Sunday dinner at Evelyn's house felt like walking into a carefully choreographed play where nobody quite knew their lines. The dining room table was set with the good china. Not the heirloom set she usually used, I noticed, but newer pieces with cheerful patterns. I thought these might be more appropriate, Evelyn said, following my gaze. Less formal. They're pretty, Camden said, running his finger along the rim of a plate until I gently stopped him. I made mac and cheese, Evelyn announced, sounding almost proud. The cook helped, of course, but I thought, well, Logan mentioned it's Camden's favourite. Logan squeezed my hand under the table. This was his mother's version of trying, trading her usual duck confit for comfort food, her precious antiques for family-friendly plates. Actually, Lindsay spoke up, Camden likes the boxed kind better. The orange powder stuff? An awkward silence fell. I held my breath, waiting for Evelyn's reaction. To everyone's surprise, she laughed. Well, I suppose I should have asked first. There's still much I need to learn about my grandchildren. The word grandchildren hung in the air like a peace offering. Mum, Logan started, but was interrupted by the doorbell. That would be Matthew, Evelyn said. I hope you don't mind. I thought having him here might make everyone more comfortable. Matthew breezed in, carrying what looked suspiciously like a box of mac and cheese. Backup plan, he stage whispered to Camden, who giggled. As we settled in to eat, Evelyn cleared her throat. Before we begin, I'd like to say something. She looked directly at me. Victoria, I owe you an apology. A real one, not just the fumbling attempt I made the other day. Mother, maybe this isn't the time. It's exactly the time, Logan. She squared her shoulders. I've spent years judging you, Victoria, when I should have been supporting you. I was so focused on what I thought family should look like that I couldn't see the beautiful family right in front of me. Is this the part where we all hug and cry? Lindsay asked. But there was less edge to her voice than usual. No, dear, Evelyn smiled. This is the part where I ask if you and Camden would be willing to tell me about your mother. The fork slipped from my hand, clattering against the china. Lindsay's eyes went wide. You want to know about Mom? Very much so. Evelyn's voice softened. She must have been remarkable to have raised such remarkable children, and to have inspired such devotion in her sister. Camden pulled something from his pocket, the worn photo of Jade he always carried. This is her, he said, sliding it across the table. At my 5th birthday, before she got sick. Evelyn studied the photo carefully. She has your smile, Lindsay, and Camden's eyes. She used to sing really badly in the car, Lindsay said suddenly, like really badly. And she made up weird names for everything. She called vegetables garden candy to try to get us to eat them. Never worked, though, I added, finding my voice. She couldn't cook to save her life. That's why we had so much takeout. Tell me more, Evelyn said. And for once there was no judgment in her voice, just genuine interest. For the next hour, stories about Jade flowed freely. Camden talked about how she'd let him wear his Superman costume to the grocery store. Lindsay remembered the time she tried to bake cookies and set off the smoke alarm. Even Logan shared memories of meeting her at our wedding. She would have hated me, wouldn't she? Evelyn asked finally. Oh, absolutely, I laughed, then caught myself. I mean, good, Evelyn nodded firmly. She sounds like an excellent judge of character, which means she was right to trust you with her children. Matthew raised his glass. To Jade, he said, who knew exactly what she was doing when she chose Victoria. To Mom, Lindsay and Camden said together. As we finished dinner, Evelyn pulled me aside. I had the rooms prepared upstairs, for when the children visit. If they want to, that is. No pressure. Purple for Lindsay? I asked, remembering her text. Actually, I thought they might like to choose for themselves. We could go shopping next weekend, all of us. I looked over at the dinner table where Camden was teaching Logan some complicated handshake, while Lindsay showed Matthew pictures on her phone. This wasn't the family I'd imagined when I married Logan, but maybe it was better than anything we could have planned. I'd like that, I said. But, Evelyn, no more fertility doctor recommendations. Darling, I already have 2 perfect grandchildren. Why would I need more? And just like that, 8 years of tension began to unravel, replaced by something new and uncertain but full of possibility. Now, Evelyn said, tell me more about this boxed mac and cheese obsession. Should I be concerned? Mum would have loved this, Lindsay said, helping me arrange flowers on Jade's grave. We'd brought her favourite, yellow daisies, the kind she used to pick from our childhood backyard. She would have laughed at all of it, I agreed. Especially Evelyn trying to learn TikTok dances with you last week. I still can't believe she posted that, Lindsay grinned, adjusting a daisy. Camden's friends keep asking if their cool grandmother can come to their soccer games too. Speaking of which, I checked my phone. We should head over to the field. Your brother's championship game starts in an hour. Can we just stay here a minute? Lindsay sat cross-legged by the headstone. I want to tell Mom something. I settled beside her, watching as she traced her fingers over Jade's name. Hey, Mom, she started. So, remember how Aunt Vic always said everything happens for a reason? Even the really awful stuff? She glanced at me. I think I get it now, because if you hadn't made her promise to take care of us, we wouldn't have this weird, crazy family we have now. A car door slammed in the distance, and I looked up to see Logan and Evelyn walking toward us, Camden bouncing between them in his soccer uniform. I brought his lucky water bottle, Evelyn called out. The one with the dinosaurs. He left it at our house after Sunday dinner. And snacks, Camden added. Grandma got the good stuff, not the healthy things Aunt Vic usually packs. Of course she did, I muttered, but couldn't help smiling. Evelyn approached the grave carefully, holding a small bouquet of her prized roses. May I? Lindsay nodded, moving aside to make room. Hello, Jade, Evelyn said softly, placing the roses. I'm sorry I never got to meet you, but thank you for trusting your children to Victoria. She's taught me more about being a mother than I ever taught Logan. Mom, Logan protested, but he was smiling. It's true, Evelyn continued. I spent so many years focused on what I thought family should be that I almost missed out on what it actually is. She turned to me. Victoria, I have something for you. She pulled an envelope from her purse. Inside was a legal document, adoption papers. I had my lawyer draw these up, she explained. Only if you want to, of course, but this would make everything official. The children would legally be yours while still honouring Jade's memory. We already talked about it, Lindsay said quickly. Camden and me. We want it. I looked at the papers through blurring eyes, but I thought, we have guardianship already. Yes, but this is different. Evelyn squeezed my hand. This makes you their mother in every way that matters, legally and officially, not just in your hearts. Can we still call you Aunt Vic sometimes, though? Camden asked anxiously. When we want to. Of course you can, buddy. I pulled him close. I'm whatever you need me to be. You're our mom, Lindsay said firmly. Our second mom. And Mom would be happy about that? Logan knelt beside the grave. Jade, I promise we'll keep taking care of them. All of us. Together. Even if it means more boxed mac and cheese, Evelyn added, making everyone laugh. We should get going, Logan said, checking his watch. Big game to win. As everyone headed back to the cars, I lingered for a moment. You'd love this, Jade, I whispered. Your kids have so many people loving them now, even if one of them is your worst nightmare. A country club mom who thinks designer labels are a food group. A warm breeze rustled the flowers, and I could almost hear Jade's laugh. Aunt Vic, Camden called. Come on, I need my lucky charm there. Coming. I touched the headstone one last time. I kept my promise, sis. And somehow, it gave me everything I never knew I needed. At the soccer field, I sat between Lindsay and Evelyn, watching Camden race across the field. Logan was down by the sidelines, cheering embarrassingly loud. Matthew showed up at halftime with ice cream for everyone, even though Evelyn complained about the mess. Hey, Lindsay nudged me, holding up her phone. Look what I found. It was an old photo of Jade and me as kids, covered in mud from trying to make a garden. We were laughing, arms around each other, not caring about the mess. Mom wrote something on the back, Lindsay said, turning the phone. In Jade's messy handwriting, sisters by blood, best friends by choice. Perfect timing finding that today, I said. Lindsay smiled, Jade's smile. Nothing's really perfect. But this, she gestured at our noisy, messy, beautiful family. This comes pretty close. Camden scored the winning goal, and as we all rushed the field to celebrate, I felt it. That sense of everything being exactly as it should be. Not perfect, but real. Not what I'd planned, but somehow better. Just like Jade would have wanted it.
You used it? I was standing in the kitchen with my bank app open, hands trembling, staring at a balance that made no sense. 0. My savings account was empty. My name's Sasha, and I'd spent 2 years waitressing double shifts and skipping meals to save for one thing: surgery. A laparoscopic procedure to treat endometriosis. Not cosmetic. Not optional. Just the only thing keeping me from waking up every morning feeling like my uterus was trying to kill me. And now, it was gone. I turned the phone screen toward my mom like it was evidence in a trial. Where is it? She didn't even flinch. Just kept stirring her stupid chamomile tea like we were talking about the weather. Sweetheart, calm down. You're being dramatic. Mom, where is my money? She sighed and finally looked up. We gave it to your brother. I blinked. You what? For his trip. Europe. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Sasha. He's never had the chance to see the world. I couldn't breathe. That was my surgery fund. You knew that. You knew. Nigel deserves something good. She cut in, voice soft, like she was explaining bedtime rules to a toddler. You're strong. You'll figure something out. I don't remember sitting down, but suddenly I was on the floor, knees hitting tile. The room tilted sideways. I felt like I was going to throw up. You stole from me. It's not stealing, she said, frowning. We're family. I heard the front door open and close. Footsteps. Then Nigel strolled in, grinning, sunglasses on his head like he was already in Ibiza. Yo, Sasha, thanks for the assist, he said, tossing his keys on the counter. I owe you one. I stared at him. You knew? He shrugged. Mom said you'd be cool with it. I mean, come on. You've been saving forever. It's not like you're dying. I stood up. I'm in pain every day. You think I saved for fun? Oh my God. He groaned, rolling his eyes. Why do you always make everything about you? Because it is about me. My voice cracked. That money was mine. Dad walked in behind him, unbothered as usual. What's all this yelling? She found out, Mom said with a little shrug. Dad looked at me like I was a problem he'd forgotten to solve. Sasha, don't be selfish. Your brother's never had a real break. This trip could change his life. Change his life? I laughed, but it came out like a sob. I was trying to save mine. You're being emotional, he said, like that was a bad thing. You'll figure something out. You always do. I looked around at the three of them, the golden boy, the enabler, and the man who never once asked if I was okay. You're unbelievable, I whispered. Nigel smirked. Are you seriously going to be mad about this forever? I didn't answer. I just walked to my room, packed a duffel bag, and left. I didn't slam the door. I didn't scream. I didn't cry until I got to Bridget's apartment and she opened the door in her pajamas, eyes wide. What happened? They took it, I said, and then I broke. Bridget held me while I shook. She didn't ask questions, just let me fall apart. We sat on her couch at 2 a.m., both of us wrapped in blankets, my face raw from crying. I showed her the screenshots, the empty account, the texts from my mom pretending like nothing was wrong. They said I should be proud of him, I whispered. That he deserves joy. And you don't? Bridget asked. I didn't answer. I didn't know how. The next day, I called the clinic and cancelled my surgery consult. Then I called them again and asked if they had any financial aid or trial programs. They didn't, but they gave me a number to try. And another one. And another. It took weeks, but I found a research hospital in Chicago running a study. They'd cover most of the costs if I qualified. Bridget helped me apply. I never went back home. A month later, I got an email from my mom. No subject line. Just, "Are you still mad about the money? You need to let it go. Nigel sent you photos from Prague. Isn't it amazing how happy he looks?" I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I hit delete. That surgery wasn't optional. Every day of waiting after that theft was pain multiplied by betrayal. I showed up at the house 2 weeks later, not because I wanted to, but because I needed answers. Closure. Something. Mom opened the door with a smile like I was a guest she hadn't seen in years. "Oh, you look thin," she said, pulling me into a hug I didn't return. "Are you eating? You know stress burns through calories." I stepped past her. "Where's Dad?" "In the den. Nigel's packing. He leaves next week." I walked straight into the den. Dad was in his recliner, watching a golf tournament like nothing had happened. "You stole from me," I said. He didn't even mute the TV. "We already talked about this." "No. You talked. I was too shocked to respond. So now I'm talking." He sighed, and finally turned the volume down. "Sasha, I don't know what you want from us. We made a decision. It was hard for everyone. It wasn't hard for me. It was hell." He stood up, arms crossed. "You think this was easy for us? Watching you spiral like this?" "I'm not spiraling. I'm surviving. You stole my savings for a surgery I needed. That's not a hard decision. That's theft." Mum walked in behind me. "Don't be dramatic." "Stop saying that," I snapped. "It's not dramatic to be angry you prioritized a vacation over my health." "It wasn't a vacation," Nigel said, appearing in the doorway with a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. "It's a cultural experience. You wouldn't understand." I turned slowly to face him. "You're right. I don't understand how someone can watch their sister suffer and still take everything she has." "Oh, come on," he groaned. "You think you're the only one with problems? I'm under a lot of pressure too." "You're going to Europe," I said flatly. "Yeah, and that comes with expectations. Networking, planning." "Networking?" I laughed. "You're going to bars and hostels." He rolled his eyes. "You're so negative." Dad stepped between us. "That's enough. Sasha, we're having dinner tonight. Your mother's making roast. Sit down, eat, and let's move past this." "No," I said. "I'm not staying." Mom's face dropped. "You're not coming to dinner?" "I'm not staying in this house another minute." She blinked. "But it's family dinner." "You're not my family." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Dad's jaw tightened. "If you're going to bring this kind of energy into our home, maybe it's better you don't come around." I nodded slowly. "Thanks for the clarity." I turned and walked out. No tears this time, no shaking. Just a quiet, pulsing rage that settled in my chest like a second heartbeat. Bridget was waiting in the car. She looked at me as I slid into the passenger seat. "Well?" "They told me I bring negative energy." She snorted. "That's rich." I stared out the window. "I'm done with them." "Good," she said. "Now, let's get you that surgery." It took 3 months to get into the trial program. I had to fly to Chicago twice for evaluations. I stayed with a friend of Bridget's cousin to save money. I worked nights at a diner and days at a medical office doing admin work. When the approval email came, I cried so hard I couldn't breathe. The surgery was rough. Recovery was worse. But I made it through. Bridget was there when I woke up, holding my hand. "You did it," she whispered. I nodded, tears leaking from the corners of my eyes. "Yeah, I did." Back at her apartment, I lay on the couch for days, too sore to move much. She brought me soup and pain meds and sat with me through the nightmares. One afternoon, my phone buzzed. From Mom. Subject: None. "Hope you're feeling better. Nigel sent a photo from Prague. He's having the time of his life. You should be happy for him. He always looked up to you." I showed Bridget. She read it, then looked at me. "You gonna respond?" I shook my head. "I think I'm done responding." She smiled. "Good. Let's block their emails." I hesitated. Then I hit the buttons. Block, block, block. It didn't erase what they did, but it gave me a little space to breathe. Weeks passed. I started walking more, eating better. I got a raise at the clinic and finally moved into a studio apartment. Tiny, but mine. Every now and then, I'd get a letter, handwritten. No return address, always from my mom. I never opened them. One day, Bridget came over with takeout and found me throwing them into a shoebox. "You keeping those for a bonfire?" she asked. "Maybe," I said. She grinned. "Let me know. I'll bring marshmallows." I smiled for the first time in a while. I wasn't healed, not yet. But I was healing, and I was nowhere near done. The first time I met Graham, I had stitches in my abdomen and a heating pad tucked under my shirt. Bridget had dragged me to a small get-together at her co-worker's place. I didn't want to go. I still moved like I was 90 and felt worse, but she insisted. "Just come for an hour," she said, pushing a jacket into my arms. "You've been cooped up for weeks. You need to remember what people sound like." So I went. I sat on a worn couch with a glass of ginger ale, mostly watching people talk. That's when he walked in, tall, clean-cut, wearing jeans that actually fit right and a navy sweater. He had this calm energy, like nothing could rattle him. He nodded at me as he passed, then doubled back. "You okay?" he asked. I blinked. "What?" "You're sitting like someone stabbed you." I laughed, then winced. "Close. Surgery." "Ah, that explains the heating pad peeking out." I looked down. "Damn, I thought I hit it." He smiled. "You did better than most." We talked. Nothing deep, just light stuff. Books, music, the weird way people always end up in the kitchen at parties. He didn't ask what kind of surgery I had, didn't make a face when I said I'd been recovering for weeks, just nodded like it made sense. Before he left, he handed me a napkin with his number on it. "Text me if you ever want to sit awkwardly on another couch and judge people's Spotify playlists." I didn't text him for 2 weeks. Then I did. Our first date was coffee. I told him about the surgery, about endometriosis, about how I'd lived with pain for years because no one took me seriously. He didn't interrupt, didn't try to fix it, just listened. "You've been through hell," he said. I nodded. "Yeah." "And they took your savings?" "Every cent." He leaned back. "That's not just cruel, that's calculated." I looked at him. "You're not gonna say something like, 'Family's complicated'?" "Nope," he said. "Some people weaponize blood ties. Doesn't make it sacred." I stared at him for a second. Then I smiled. We started seeing each other more. Slowly. I wasn't in a rush. But he made it easy. He never pushed. Just showed up with takeout and asked how I was feeling. He'd walk with me when I was sore, cook when I was too tired. And once, when I had a breakdown over a medical bill, he just held me while I sobbed into his shirt. One night, we were sitting in my apartment eating pad thai on the floor when he asked, "Do you ever think about confronting them?" "Every day," I said. "What would you want to say?" I paused. "I don't want to say anything. I want them to feel it. The weight of what they did. I want them to regret it. He nodded. That's fair. I looked at him. You're a lawyer, right? He grinned. Yeah. Good, I said. I might need one someday. He raised his glass. Whenever you're ready. In the meantime, I kept building. I took on more hours at the clinic, got promoted to office manager, started a side hustle helping small practices set up billing systems, opened my first investment account with $500 and a lot of Googling. Graham helped me set up a spreadsheet to track my progress. I called it Rebuild Fund. Every holiday season, I got the same emails from my parents. Merry Christmas, sweetheart. Hope you're doing well. Nigel's in Amsterdam this year. So cultured. We miss you. I never responded. Bridget and I started our own traditions. Cheap wine, bad movies, and a pact to never spend a single holiday with people who made us feel small. One night, Graham and I were walking back from dinner when he stopped under a street lamp. They'll come back, he said. I looked at him. What? Your parents. Your brother. One day they'll need something. They'll pretend nothing happened. Try to act like it's all water under the bridge. I crossed my arms. And? He smiled. Just make sure you're the one in the high chair. I didn't say anything, but something shifted in me then. I wasn't the girl on the kitchen floor anymore. I was the woman building her own table, and one day they'd come knocking, and I'd be ready. It started with a text from my cousin Leah. Did you hear about Nigel? Barcelona. It's bad. I stared at the screen, heart still, fingers cold. I hadn't heard his name in over a year, and now it was back like a bad rash. I texted back, what happened? Arrested. Drugs. Debt. Something with that Teddy guy. Your mom's losing it. I didn't reply. 2 days later, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find my parents standing there like ghosts. Simone clutched her purse like it was a life vest. Robert looked thinner, older, but the same cold eyes. Hi, sweetheart, she said, voice trembling. I didn't move. What do you want? We wanted to talk, she said. Can we come in? I stepped aside. Let them walk into my apartment, my space, my walls, my couch, my rules. They sat down like they owned the place. Robert looked around. You've done well for yourself. I stayed standing. Is he in jail? Simone nodded quickly. Yes, Barcelona. It's a nightmare, Sasha. The charges are serious. He was set up. By who? She hesitated. That Teddy boy. He disappeared. Left Nigel to take the fall. I crossed my arms. And? She blinked. And? He needs help. Robert cleared his throat. We need help. I said nothing. Simone leaned forward. You've built such a nice life. We're so proud of you. I laughed. Proud? Yes, she said, eyes glassy. You've always been so strong, so smart. We knew you'd land on your feet. You stole from me. Her lip quivered. That was a mistake. We were just trying to give Nigel a chance. Robert cut in. He's your brother. He needs us now. He's scared. Alone. And the legal fees. How much? I asked. They paused. Simone looked at Robert. He nodded. 70,000, she said softly, to get him out. Maybe more for the trial. I whistled. Wow. We wouldn't ask if it wasn't life or death, she said quickly. We'll pay you back. Every cent. I tilted my head. Like you paid me back for the surgery fund? She winced. We didn't know it would go that far. You didn't care. Robert stood up. Look, Sasha, we're not here to fight. We're asking for your help. He's family. I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and drank it slowly. Let them sit in the silence. Then I turned around. You hungry? Simone blinked. What? Dinner. I'll take you out. My treat. They looked at each other, confused but hopeful. Really? She said. Sure, I said, smiling. Let's go downtown. I know a place. We went to a sleek little restaurant with white tablecloths and wine glasses taller than my hand. Graham met us there in a navy suit, calm and collected. This is Graham, I said. My partner. Robert raised an eyebrow. Partner? Lawyer, Graham added, shaking his hand. We ordered. We ate. They talked. I smiled, nodded, let them tell stories about Nigel as a child, about his potential, about how unfair the world was. Simone dabbed her eyes with a napkin. He just needs one more chance. After dessert, I reached into my purse and pulled out a folder, placed it gently on the table. What's this? Robert asked. I slid it toward him. The Turner family account. He opened it, flipped through the pages, itemized losses, bank statements, therapy invoices, missed wages, emotional damages, stress interest, grand total, 112 and 315. Simone's face went pale. What is this? Graham leaned in. A detailed record of what your daughter lost due to your actions. Robert looked up. Is this a joke? I stared him dead in the eye. This is the cost of your family values. Simone's voice cracked. You're charging us? No, I said. I'm giving you a choice. Robert slammed the folder shut. You can't be serious. I'm dead serious, I said. You pay me back, or you walk away, and don't ever contact me again. Simone looked at me with wide, wet eyes. He could die in prison. I shrugged. I survived without you. Let's see how he does. Robert stood. We'll sue you. Graham smiled. Oh, that would be wise. You want a jury to hear about how you stole your sick daughter's savings and used it to fund your son's drug-fueled vacation? Robert's mouth opened, then closed. I stood up. Dinner's on me. Think of it as interest. I walked out, Graham beside me, the night air sharp against my skin. He looked at me. You good? I nodded. Let the accounting begin. The next morning, I got a text from my dad. We need to talk. This is ridiculous. I didn't respond. Instead, I emailed them a scanned copy of the Turner family account. Same one I handed them at dinner, but with a new addition, a payment plan, 112,315, due in full or in monthly installments over 5 years, interest applied if late, legal representation listed at the bottom, Graham's firm. They didn't reply. 3 days went by. Then Simone showed up at my office. I was walking back from lunch, iced coffee in hand, when I saw her sitting in the lobby, dressed in beige and pearls, like she was going to a brunch, not begging for mercy. Sasha, she said, standing up like we were old friends. I kept walking. You can't be here. I just want to talk. You've had years to talk. Please. Her voice cracked. I'm your mother. I turned. No, you're the woman who told me I'd thank you one day for losing my savings. That's not fair. I have the recording, Simone. Her mouth froze. You recorded me? You bet I did. The day you told me I was being overly emotional about needing surgery, I saved every voicemail, every email, every lie. She looked around, flustered. Can we go somewhere private? No, I said. You want to talk? Talk here. She looked like she might cry. We can't pay this. It's too much. Then don't, I said. But don't expect anything from me. She stepped closer. He's your brother. I tilted my head. And I was your daughter. That didn't stop you. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. I turned and walked away. That night, Graham poured me a glass of wine while I sat on the couch with my laptop. You sure you want to go through with this? He asked. I nodded. They need to feel it. He leaned back. You know, legally, you're on solid ground. You've got the paper trail, the audio, the witnesses. But emotionally, this is a war. I know, I said, but it's one they started. The next week, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. I opened it. Inside was a check for $5,000. First payment. No note. I showed Graham. He smiled. Looks like they're taking the deal. I deposited it the next day. A month later, another check arrived. Then another. Every time I saw one, I felt something shift. Not joy, not revenge. Balance. One afternoon, Bridget came over while I was sorting receipts. She picked one up. Therapy? Yeah, I said. I added it to the damages. She whistled. You really went full forensic accountant. They wanted a reckoning, I said. Now they've got one. She grinned. You're kind of scary. I love it. I laughed. I'm not scary. I'm just done being quiet. Later that week, I got a call from a restricted number. I let it go to voicemail. It was Nigel. His voice was hoarse, panicked. Hey, Sasha. I know we haven't talked, but I'm in a really bad place. I didn't know they took your money. I swear. I thought you were cool with it. Please. I need help. I'm scared. I stared at the screen, then hit delete. The next day, another email from Simone. We're doing our best. Can you lower the amount? Please. We're selling the house. I forwarded it to Graham. He replied, Let them sell it. So I did. A week later, I got a notice from their lawyer confirming the sale. A larger payment followed. $25,000. Graham and I sat at the kitchen table, going over the new totals. You know, he said, you could stop this any time. Forgive the rest. I looked at him. Do you think I should? He paused. I think you should do what gives you peace. I nodded. This gives me peace. He raised his glass. Then here's to peace. We clinked glasses. That night, I pulled out the old shoebox of letters, the ones Simone had sent me over the years. I took them to the fireplace. One by one, I fed them to the flames, watched them curl and blacken and disappear. No more apologies, no more pretending, just clean, earned silence. And that was worth every cent. I met them at the same restaurant, same table, same white tablecloths. This time, I wore a black blazer and heels that clicked on the floor like punctuation. Graham sat beside me, calm as ever, a leather folder in front of him. Simone and Robert looked tired. Simone's hair was thinner, her eyes puffier. Robert had a limp I hadn't noticed before. Maybe age, maybe guilt. They didn't order food, just water. I didn't smile. Thank you for coming, Simone said, voice soft. I nodded once. Robert cleared his throat. We've paid almost half. You've paid $38,000, I said. That's a third. He frowned. We sold the house. We're renting now. That should count for something. It does, I said. It counts toward the debt. Simone leaned forward. Sasha, please. We're drowning. We've done what you asked. Can't you meet us halfway? Graham opened the folder. Actually, she already did. She dropped the interest rate. That's a compromise. Robert's jaw tightened. You're enjoying this. No, I said. I'm documenting it. He scoffed. You think this makes you better than us? No, I said. Just smarter. Simone reached into her purse and pulled out a small USB drive. She placed it on the table like it was a peace offering. What's this? I asked. Everything, she said. Photos, videos, letters, from Nigel. While he was traveling, he wanted you to see them. He said he was sorry. I stared at the drive, didn't touch it. Did he say sorry before or after he got arrested? I asked. Simone flinched. Robert stood. We're not here to be humiliated. Graham didn't even blink. Then don't humiliate yourselves. Robert pointed at me. You're punishing your own family. I stood slowly, pushing my chair back. You want to talk punishment? I reached into my bag and pulled out my phone, tapped a few times. Here. I hit play. The audio was old, but clear. Simone's voice. You're being dramatic, Sasha. You'll thank us one day. Nigel deserves this. You're strong. You'll bounce back. Simone gasped. You recorded me? I looked her in the eye. You made me. Robert's face turned red. This is Lo. No, I said. Lo was stealing from your daughter when she was in pain. Lo was calling her selfish for needing surgery. Lo was pretending for years like nothing happened. They were quiet. I slid a new document across the table. This is the final agreement, Graham said. You pay the remaining balance in structured monthly payments. No more delays. No more negotiations. If you miss even one, we take it to court. Simone's hand shook as she signed. Robert hesitated. I leaned in. Or we can let a jury hear the recordings, the emails, the bank statements. Let them decide what kind of parents you are. He signed. I stood. We're done here. Simone looked up. Can we ever fix this? I paused. You can finish paying. That's all. Outside, the air was crisp. Graham slid his sunglasses on. You okay? He asked. Yeah, I said. I feel clean. He smiled. You were terrifying in there. I laughed. Good. That night, I plugged in the USB. I watched one video. Nigel on a beach, holding a beer, yelling something about freedom. Another of him in Rome, dancing with strangers. A photo of him on a yacht, sunglasses crooked. Teddy in the background, flipping off the camera. I ejected the drive and tossed it in the drawer. Let the past rot quietly. The next morning, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Nigel's voice. Hey, I heard you've been helping. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. I was stupid. I didn't know how bad I hurt you. Please, write back. Anything. Please. I played it twice. Then I deleted it. Later that week, Graham and I stood in the kitchen, sipping coffee. You think he'll change? He asked. No, I said. You think they will? No. He nodded. Then why bother? I looked at him. Because karma doesn't always come on its own. Sometimes you have to drive it there yourself. He raised his mug. To karma. I clinked mine against his. And spreadsheets. We laughed. And for the first time in years, I wasn't angry. I was free. The Barcelona prison smelled like bleach and sweat. I sat in a cold metal chair across from a glass partition, waiting. Then he walked in. Nigel, thinner, scruffier, his once slick hair now a greasy mess. He looked like someone had wrung him out and left him to dry in a cell. His eyes darted around until they landed on me. He froze. Sasha? His voice cracked through the phone on his side of the glass. I picked up mine. Hi, Nigel. He stared at me like I was a ghost. I didn't think you'd come, he said. I almost didn't. He swallowed hard. You look different. Yeah, healing will do that. He leaned forward. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what they did with your money. I thought you were cool with it. I swear. I raised an eyebrow. You thought I was okay with giving up my surgery so you could party across Europe. I didn't know how bad it was. Mom said, Don't quote Mom, I cut in. You were there. You saw me. You heard me crying in my room. You watched me limp around with a heating pad and thought I was just being dramatic. He looked down. I was stupid. Yeah, I said. You were. He looked up, eyes red. I'm not asking for money. I know I don't deserve it. I needed to see you. I needed to say it to your face. I didn't say anything. He pressed his palm against the glass. I messed up. I know that now. Teddy bailed. The drugs weren't even mine. I was just stupid enough to carry the bag. I've been here for months. No one visits. No one writes. I'm alone, Sasha. I looked at his hand, then back at his face. I know what alone feels like, I said. You taught me. He blinked. I never wanted to hurt you. You didn't care if you did. He wiped his nose with the back of his sleeve. Please, I'm begging. Help me. Just talk to the lawyer. Maybe write a letter to the judge. Anything. I reached into my bag. He perked up. I pulled out a photo. It was me, 6 months after surgery, standing on a hiking trail, smiling, healthy, alive. I held it up to the glass. This is what I paid for, with my own damn money, after you all took everything. He stared at it. I earned my healing, I said. Now you get to earn yours. His voice cracked. You won't help me? I just did, I said. I came here. I let you speak. That's more than you ever gave me. He looked shattered. You're not the same person. I stood. Exactly. I walked away without looking back. Outside, the sun was blinding. Graham was waiting by the car, leaning against it with his arms crossed. How'd it go? He asked. I climbed in. 15 minutes, that's all I gave him. He nodded. Fair. We drove in silence for a while. The city passed by in a blur of stone buildings and narrow streets. You okay? He asked. Yeah, I said. I just needed him to see what I became. He reached over and squeezed my hand. He saw it. Trust me. That night, I sat on the hotel balcony, watching the lights flicker across the city. I thought about the girl I used to be, the one who begged to be seen, the one who cried alone in her room while her family toasted Nigel's adventures. She was gone, and I didn't miss her. Graham came out with 2 glasses of wine. To closure? He asked. I shook my head. To clarity. Closure's too soft. He smiled. To clarity. We clinked glasses, and for the first time in my life, I felt untouchable. I was pouring coffee in the kitchen when the letter arrived. Plain white envelope, no return address, same handwriting I'd seen 100 times before. Graham picked it up from the floor where it had slid under the door. Another one? I nodded, drying my hands. Yep. He held it out. You gonna read it? I took it, looked at the crease, then tossed it into the trash without opening it. That's a no, he said, smiling. That's a hell no. We were leaving for the airport in an hour. I zipped up my suitcase and glanced around the apartment one last time. Clean counters, folded laundry, a plant I hadn't killed yet. It didn't feel like a goodbye. It felt like a graduation. Bridget pulled up outside just as we were locking the door. She stepped out, arms open. You're really doing it. I hugged her tight. We're doing it. You helped build this. She pulled back, eyes glassy. You're gonna change lives, Sasha. I smiled. That's the plan. She handed me a little box. Don't open it until you land. I tucked it into my carry-on. Deal. The flight was long, but smooth. Graham slept most of the way. I stared out the window, watching clouds stretch like cotton pulled across the sky. At the new apartment, smaller, but with a view of the water, I opened Bridget's box. Inside was a silver bracelet. Simple, engraved on the inside. Family is who shows up. I sat on the edge of the bed, running my finger over the words. Graham walked in, suitcase in hand. You okay? I nodded. Yeah. He sat beside me. You ready for tomorrow? I exhaled. Let's do it. The auditorium wasn't huge, maybe 50 seats, all filled. Patients, caregivers, students. The kind of people who knew what it meant to fight for your health without a safety net. I stood at the podium, heart pounding. "Hi, I'm Sasha," I began, "and I want to talk to you about what happens when the people who are supposed to protect you don't." Heads nodded, eyes locked on me. I was 22 when I started saving for surgery. I had a condition that made every day feel like a war inside my body. I worked 2 jobs, I skipped meals, I planned every dollar, and then one day, my parents emptied my account. A few gasps, a few heads shaking. They gave the money to my brother for a trip to Europe because they said he deserved a life-changing experience. I paused. That was the day I stopped being their daughter and started becoming my own person. The room was still. I found another way. I got into a clinical trial. I rebuilt my life. And years later, when they came back, broke, desperate, asking for help, I gave them something else. I held up a folder, an invoice. A few people laughed, a few clapped. I didn't scream, I didn't beg. I made them look at every dollar they took, every hour I spent in pain, every therapy session, every missed paycheck. I held them accountable, and I walked away. I looked around the room. You don't have to forgive people who never earned it. You don't have to carry their guilt. You can let go and still win. When it was over, people lined up to talk. A woman hugged me and whispered, "Thank you for saying it out loud." A man with tears in his eyes said, "I thought I was the only one." That night, Graham and I sat on the balcony, wine in hand, city lights flickering below. "You were incredible," he said. I leaned against him. I just told the truth. That's what made it powerful. My phone buzzed. I glanced down. Another message from Simone. "We made the final payment. I hope one day you'll let us explain." I looked at it for a second, then hit delete. Graham raised an eyebrow. "Another one?" "Yeah, she wants to explain." He sipped his wine. "Do you care?" I smiled. "Not even a little." A breeze rolled in, soft and warm. I looked out at the skyline, then back at him. "They taught me what family isn't," I said. He looked at me. "And what is it?" I reached for his hand. "Family is where love lives, so I made mine with people who never made me beg for it."